Chapter 3270. Zhou Nuo had sent out two Daozu to hide their auras and infiltrate the human world to gather information. The two Daozu experts quickly returned with news that made Zhou Nuo wild with joy. Su Fong has left the human world. Where'd he go? Zhou Nuo couldn't help but be surprised and happy when he heard the news. Su Fong is actually not in the human world. His Daozu heaved a long sigh of relief. The benefits Zhou Nuo promised were tempting, but his life was even more valuable. He didn't have to face Su Fong directly, so he didn't have to worry about his life. Zhou Nuo said coldly, "Let's go to the Imperial Heaven Divine region first and capture Su Fong's family and subordinates. Even if Su Fong returns, he won't dare to attack us. This way, we'll have the upper hand." Suddenly, one of the Daozu experts suddenly spoke up. "Cultivators should fight their enemies openly. I'm not afraid of fighting Su Fong directly, but young Prince Zhou Nuo is using his family as a hostage. This seat is deeply ashamed." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The Daozu experts all looked over. That expert was a middle-aged man. His hair was draped over his shoulders, and his face was pale. He looked like he was in dire straits, but his eyes were filled with arrogance and unruliness. Some of the Dao ancestors looked at him with disdain, while others felt ashamed. These alien Dao fathers would be powerful experts in any other race. Now, this group of Dao ancestors was secretly going to deal with the family of a human cultivator. It was indeed not a glorious thing to use this as a threat. Zhou Nuo snorted. "Yao Ming Daozu, this seat didn't spend a fortune to invite you to order me around. If you refuse to listen to my orders, you can leave now. However, the benefits I promised you before are naturally gone." The middle-aged man snorted and didn't say anything else. "Let's go to the Imperial Heaven Divine region." Zhou Nuo activated the flying shuttle Xianbao and entered the southern profound divine region of the Jiuquan divine region. Right now, the southern profound divine region was desolate and deathly silent. More than half of the cultivators from the 12 races that once ruled the southern profound divine realm had been killed by Su Fong. The rest had fled the southern profound divine realm. Other than a few mortals, most of the humans had been rescued by Sima Xiao Xiao and other southern profound cultivators. Now, other than a few big goblin, there was not a single cultivator in the southern profound divine realm. Yunua was just about to continue driving the flying shuttle away from the southern profound divine region. Whoosh, whoosh. More than a dozen figures appeared out of thin air, blocking the path of the shuttle. They were Daozu experts from the 12 races. What a coincidence. 10 experts of the two races had actually encountered the experts of the Tensei people in the southern profound divine region. Su Fong had wiped out all 12 kinds of creatures that had invaded the human world. Even Xueling from the Blood Jia clan was killed by Su Fong. The leaders of the 12 kinds of creatures were enraged. Once again, they sent out powerful warriors into the human world. After understanding the purpose of the Tensei people's visit to the human world, the expert from both sides joined forces and charged toward the Imperial Heaven Divine region. There were more than 150 Daozu experts, and there was no lack of powerful Daozu experts among them. They would be a formidable force in any race. Now that all of them were charging toward the Imperial Heaven Divine region, Su Fong's family and subordinates in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace would be in danger. Asterisk, 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 Lightning Plane Realm. Su Fong had cultivated in the Divine Origin Pool for 30 million years, and he had finally recovered to his peak state. His injuries this time were so severe that he had almost used up all of the pills the precious tree mother had given him. He also didn't know how many foreign cultivators he had devoured before he finally recovered. This showed just how deep Su Fong's life force and Dao Palace were. Su Fong was thinking about his son. He didn't have time to ask about the Sixth Heavens test. He hurriedly had Realm Spirit send him out of the Lightning Pool original realm and back into the primal chaos. Patriarch Isoul was still waiting for Su Fong. "Hurry up and tell me about my son," Su Fong asked impatiently. Ice Patriarch Isoul was also very happy. He had lost all of his composure as an immortal expert, and he excitedly told Su Fong everything. In truth, there wasn't much to say. Su Fong's son's birth process wasn't much different from that of immortals. The only difference was that the gestation time was much longer. However, Su Fong's son was naturally different from a mortal. He was extraordinary. With a peak Daozu father, his life force was incomparably powerful, more than 10 times the limit of the human race. He was born with a higher starting point than any other human. So how could he be ordinary? And the cosmic race's immortal expert Sengoku had even given Su Fong an extraordinary star birth pill. Absorb. After absorbing the essence of the pill, Su Fong's son was destined to be extraordinary. He definitely wouldn't be any weaker than the children of the upper races. According to Patriarch Ice Soul, Su Fong's son's life force surpassed that of a Tao master when he was born. Such potential was truly astonishing. Because he had just been born, there was nothing special about him for the time being. When Su Fong heard about his son, he was very happy. He immediately wanted to follow Patriarch Ice Soul to Ice Soul Sanctuary. No, after Su Fong severed the good corpse, although he couldn't wait to see his son, his Tao heart was calm. He still maintained his rationality and knew that now wasn't the time to return to Ice Soul Sanctuary. Everything will be fine in Ice Soul Sanctuary. Our top priority is to kill the evil corpse and pass the Thunderpool's original realm's 6th heaven trial. After that, we'll move all of humanity to the Thunderpool's original realm and solve the human race's problem once and for all. After that, we'll bring Xuanxin and my son to the Thunderpool's original realm. Su Fong pondered for a moment before coming to a decision. He then told Patriarch Ice Soul his thoughts. Patriarch Ice Soul nodded. Your son is my disciple. You can leave him in Ice Soul Sanctuary and leave everything to me. You can focus on your important matters. If you need my help, just say the word. Thank you for your kindness, Senior. I have the ability to handle everything. Su Fong refused Patriarch Ice Soul's kindness. Of course, Patriarch Ice Soul could solve all the problems. However, in this way, the Ice Soul Holy Clan would be involved as well. And the intervention of an immortal realm expert would definitely attract the attention of the Tensei people, the Qinyuan clan, and the other 12 clans. By then, it would bring endless trouble. Even more. Besides, Su Fong had his own pride and strong confidence. He had the strength and ability to solve everything. Just as Patriarch Ice Soul was about to leave, he suddenly asked, I almost forgot. What's your son's name? Su Fong was startled. Then, he couldn't help but laugh. He was so happy that he forgot to name his son. Deep after a long time, Su Fong said, My son brought me supreme luck the moment he was born. He helped me survive a great calamity. In addition, I also hope that he will have great luck in the future. Let's call him Su Xinyan. Su Xinyan? Patriarch Ice Soul raised his white eyebrows. Then, he nodded and said, That's a good name. Your and Xuanxin's surnames are in it. Let's call him Su Xinyan. After Patriarch Ice Soul left, Su Fong looked at the heavenly gate in the sky and transmitted his divine thought to Realm Spirit. Lord Realm Spirit, please wait a moment. I'm going to kill the evil corpse here. Spirit responded, It's okay. Do as you please. I'll wait for you. Su Fong settled down in the chaotic void and prepared to kill the evil corpse. At this moment, Su Fong had already killed the execution corpse and the evil corpse. Only the evil corpse was left. Once he killed the evil corpse, it meant that his state of mind would surpass all shackles and reach the height of coexisting with the heavenly Tao. Hard after reaching the immortal realm, he only needed to continue to settle down and comprehend the true meaning of the heavenly Tao. He would surpass Daozu in his cultivation realm and then be promoted to the immortal realm. He would become an immortal realm existence that coexisted with the heavenly Tao. That was the highest peak of the great Tao. Settled down for 10 years. The scene after being controlled by the evil and crazy killing intent and fighting intent appeared in Su Fong's mind again. From the day he stepped on the path of cultivation and became a cultivator, the strong enemies he encountered along the way also appeared in his mind one by one. I want to kill all the strong enemies and step on the corpses of the enemies to reach the peak. However, killing is only a means. It can't control me. The evil corpse makes my strength stronger, but at the same time, it's also my shackle. Kill. The faces and scenes in his mind were shattered by Su Fong's will. With the experience of getting rid of the will dominated by the evil corpse, it became very easy for Su Fong to kill the evil corpse. Every time he cut off a face, every time he cut off a piece of the past, the evil thoughts in Su Fong's mind would weaken a little. Same as at the same time, he also cut off the karma with the past. Whoosh! An aura of nothingness rushed out of Su Fong's body and disappeared into the deep chaos. Pieces after a quarter of an hour. The sky above Su Fong's head seemed to be boiling. Waves of nothingness thunder began to sound. Whoosh! The lightning surged and turned into a lightning blade that was thousands of feet long. Kill! Su Fong looked at the lightning blade. His eyes were calm, but they were filled with incomparable decisiveness and determination. Chi! The lightning blade slashed down with the supreme will of the heavenly Tao. In a flash, it arrived above Su Fong's head and turned into a lightning blade that was only 1 foot long. It entered Su Fong's body through the top of his head. Su Fong felt as if this blade had directly cut him in half. A cold, merciless, and icy blade separated his evil corpse from his body and floated in front of him. Whoosh! Su Fong's entire body seemed to collapse. At the same time, he also felt an extremely familiar sense of relief. It felt as if he had broken off a layer of shackles and shackles. His eyes were icy cold and indifferent, and they were like the vast expanse of chaos that didn't carry a trace of emotion. He had no joy or sorrow, no hatred or anger in his heart. He had entered a state of emptiness. Heaven and earth are heartless and treat all things as straw dogs. This message naturally appeared in Su Fong's mind. This was the will of the heavenly Tao obtained after one's state of mind transcended all shackles and reached a supreme state. It was like Su Fong's scripture, the Jiuxuan Wuji scripture. So, this is the so-called heartless heavenly Tao. It was only now that Su Fong understood what the heavenly Tao meant. Heaven the Tao did not care about emotions, nor did it care about emotionlessness. Heaven the Tao did not treat all things particularly well, nor did it treat all things particularly badly. All things in the world were the same. In front of the supreme heavenly Tao, there was no distinction between high and low, noble and lowly, superior and inferior, and everything was equal. The heavenly Tao also did not have joy, anger, or sorrow. It did not treat good as good, nor did it treat evil as evil. If a cultivator wants to become immortal, as eternal as the heavenly Tao, he needs to reach a state of mind like the heavenly Tao. However, who can truly be heartless? If one can be as heartless as the heavenly Tao, what's the point of cultivation? Although it is impossible to reach the state of heartless heavenly Tao, a cultivator can reach the state of indifference. There can be emotions, hatred, good and evil, and persistence. However, one cannot be trapped by emotions and not be disturbed by emotions. This is the state of indifference. Su Fong raised the corner of his mouth and smiled. Chapter 3271. Now that Su Fong's state of mind had reached the immortal realm, nothing could restrain his Taoist heart. Same as this also meant that his current strength had also increased. Taoism was about the heart. With Su Fong was at the peak of the 9th level of the Tao ancestor realm. Now that he had made a breakthrough in his state of mind, he was able to cast all kinds of magic skills with less shackles, and he could exert the divine truth that he had mastered to a greater extent. Su Fong estimated that his strength had reached 99%, and he was only a step away from the immortal realm. From now on, who could stop him except for the immortal realm? Next, I should place my evil corpse. My good corpse is in the heaven stone, and my execution corpse is in the longevity lamp. Where should I place my evil corpse? Su Fong looked at his other self floating in front of him. 3 evil corpses could be placed in treasures or dharmakayas. Su Fong, the more powerful the treasure or dharma body was, the more powerful the 3 corpses would be when they fused into one in the future. They would be completely integrated with the main body and prove the immortal Great Tao. Their strength would be even greater, and their magic power would be boundless. Evil corpses could only be placed in evil treasures or dharmakayas. The blood evil dharmakayas and heavenly coffin dharmakayas were obviously inferior to the longevity lamp and the heaven stone. However, Su Fong couldn't find any treasures to place his evil corpse in. Su Fong, you can place your evil corpse in the supreme battle flag. Realm Spirit suddenly transmitted his thoughts from the original realm of Luais. Whoosh! The supreme battle flag appeared in front of Su Fong. Supreme battle flag? Su Fong was startled and looked at the supreme battle flag. He asked in surprise, "The supreme battle flag is the most precious treasure of the Reizeigu people. How can I place my good corpse in it?" The supreme battle flag is a primordial heavenly treasure used to fight in the original realm. Although it's not an innate primordial heavenly treasure, it can absorb an endless amount of killing intent and battle intent. Furthermore, the immortal realm experts of the Reizeigu people sealed their wills within the flag. Therefore, the power of the supreme battle flag is definitely stronger than your longevity lamp. You use the blood of cultivators to dye the sovereign battle flag red, which means you've gained the recognition of the sovereign battle flag. It has taken the initiative to recognize you as its master. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken the initiative to save you in the Qian Yuan clan. Furthermore, the sovereign battle flag is actually one of the rewards for passing the 6th Heavenly Layers trial. Naturally, you can take it and use it as a treasure for the evil corpse. Realm Spirit explained to Su Fong. The reward for the 6th Heavenly Layer is actually the sovereign battle flag, and there are other rewards as well. Fong Chung was overjoyed and didn't hold back. With a thought, the evil corpse flew toward the supreme battle flag and entered its internal space. The moment the evil corpse entered the supreme battle flag, Su Fong's consciousness sensed that the inside of the flag was actually a vast array space, filled with a terrifying aura of war and slaughter. This, the Paragon Battle Banner, was a treasure of slaughter. The more experts it killed, the more powerful it would be. In the depths of the space, Su Fong discovered more than 10 immortal experts' wills sealed by an array. No, these wills didn't have any consciousness. They were obviously left behind by the experts of the Reizeigu, people who had created the Luai's original realm. As long as Su Fong's evil corpse merged with the supreme battle flag, it would be able to activate the wills of these immortal experts. However, each time these immortal wills were used, they would be consumed and eventually turned into nothingness. Su Fong Chung sucked the supreme battle flag into his Dao Palace and let the evil corpse merge with it continuously. Next, he had to hurry back to the human world and move all the humans to the Luai's original realm. This time, Su Fong came directly to an unfamiliar space-time. It was the 6th Heavenly Layer. Su Fong sensed it and found that although the spirit chi of the 6th Heavenly Layer was at the same level as the 5th Heavenly Layer, it was obviously of a higher level and much purer. No, only ordinary cultivators could cultivate here. Even Dao Saints and Daozu could cultivate here. The only drawback was that this place was still inferior to the cultivation holy lands in the human world. However, it was enough for human cultivators to survive. At the same time, Su Fong also found that, just like the 5th Heavenly Layer below, he could easily control the entire 6th Heavenly Layer. He was the master of the 6th Heavenly Layer. Human Su Fong, congratulations on passing the test of the 6th Heavenly Layer. Realm Spirit's figure appeared in front of him. I was just lucky this time. My life was hanging by a thread. Su Fong thought of the dangers of the 6th Heavenly Layer, and his heart palpitated with fear. Then, he asked, Lord Realm Spirit, what other rewards are there for the 6th Heavenly Layer's test other than the Supreme Battle Flag? Realm Spirit's expression turned solemn. He tidied his robe and solemnly bowed to Su Fong. The spirit of the Luai's original realm greets Your Highness Su Fong. Your Highness? What did that mean? Su Fong was confused. Realm Spirit smiled and explained, according to the rules left behind by the Reizeigu people, as long as you pass the 6 Heavenly Layers test, you can become the young master of the Luai's original realm's master. Just like the crown prince of a mortal country, you are now the crown prince of the Luai's original realm. Crown prince? Su Fong rubbed his nose. The reward of the 6th Heavenly Layers test was completely out of his expectations. Realm Spirit continued. When Your Highness Su Fong successfully passes the upper 3 Heavenly Layers test, you can become the true master of the Luai's original realm, just like the crown prince ascending the throne. Su Fong asked, "What if I fail?" Realm Spirit smiled embarrassedly. Your Highness Su Fong should know what happened to the princes who failed to ascend the throne in the mortal countries. Su Fong's heart skipped a beat. Up or even if he failed the 3rd Heavenly Layers test, he still couldn't escape the fate of being obliterated. None of the Luai's original realm's tests were simple. To become the master of the Luai's original realm was not an ordinary kind of danger. Realm Spirit smiled and said, "Your Highness Su Fong, you don't have to worry about anything. In my opinion, with your strength and speed of improvement, the upper 3 Heavenly Layers test should not be too difficult for you. You now have at least a 60% to 70% chance of passing the test. In addition, I am no longer bound by some rules and can help you, so your chances will increase by another 20%. Only then did Su Fong relax. What are the benefits of becoming the young master of the Luai's original realm? This was what Su Fong was most concerned about. Now that Your Highness has become half the master of the Luai's original realm, you can control everything in the lower 3 heavens and middle 3 heavens. Therefore, you can move all of the human race to the Luai's original realm. Furthermore, the Luai's original realm's various treasures and resources stored in the 6th Heavenly Layer and below can be used by you at will. Realm Spirit's words made Su Fong's eyes brighten. His heart was filled with excitement. The crisis of the human race could finally be resolved. Moreover, and there were also the resources and treasures of the 6th Heavenly Layer. Such gains had already surpassed Su Fong's original goal. How could he not be surprised? Your Highness, please separate a strand of your consciousness and follow me. Realm Spirit then guided Su Fong's strand of consciousness into an ancient sealed space in the depths of the 6th Heavenly Layer. Wah! It was as if he had entered a sea of resources. There were all kinds of treasures densely packed together. All the resources Su Fong had seen before added together were not even 1/10,000th of what he saw. It was truly shocking. There were all kinds of elixirs, secret manuals, divine stones, gems, and countless spiritual objects, spirit veins, and xianbao. Qi, as he swept his gaze across, it was as if he had fallen into a vast ocean full of spiritual energy and treasure aura. Whoosh! Su Fong was stunned for a full 30 minutes before he carefully sensed it. With so many resources, the entire human race could survive in the Luai's original realm for an era. Qi! Moreover, the spiritual energy in the Luai's original realm was abundant. The human cultivators could rely on their own abilities to survive and reproduce in the Luai's original realm with the help of these resources. Su Fong's eyes shone brightly. If he had not killed the evil corpse, all kinds of greed could not control his mind, and he would have lost his consciousness in the face of so many treasures. Realm Spirit smiled proudly. Your Highness Su Fong, these are only the low-grade and mid-grade resources in the Luai's original realm. The higher-grade resources are in the upper 3 heavens. Although there are not as many resources as these, they're 100 times more precious and precious. When you become the master of the Luai's original realm, everything will belong to you. There are more powerful treasures in the upper 3 heavens. Su Fong was shocked again. Realm Spirit raised his white eyebrows. More? The Reizegu people were the overlords of the primal chaos. How could they lack the resources they had accumulated over countless years? Realm Spirit then sighed again. Unfortunately, the Reizegu people went against the heavens and attracted divine punishment. At that time, there was chaos and panic, and many treasures were lost. Less than 1/10 of these treasures and resources were left. Otherwise, the quantity and quality would be even more shocking. Enough, this is enough. Su Fang was overjoyed in his heart. When he severed the evil corpse, he also severed all his evil thoughts and greed. It was not that he no longer desired treasures and resources, but his Tao heart was not affected by greed. How could he not be happy that there were so many treasures in the Luai's original realm? Su Fang's Tao heart quickly calmed down. Next, it was time to return to the human world. Asterisk, 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 Heavenly God Palace. More than 150 foreign race experts floated in the air above the Royal Heaven Divine Palace. They looked down at the black Royal Heaven Divine Palace as if they were looking at ants. Su Fang, you took away the Luai's original realm that originally belonged to me, causing me to be abandoned by the seventh forefather. Now, I will capture your family and subordinates. I will not kill them. Instead, I will bring them to the Tensei people. Let's see if you will save them when the time comes. As long as you dare to enter the Tensei people, it will be your end. Zhou Nuo stared at the Royal Heaven Divine Palace and gritted his teeth. Boom! Rumble! The Royal Heaven Divine Palace's defenses were activated. A powerful barrier enveloped the Royal Heaven Divine Palace. Clearly, the people in the Royal Heaven Divine Palace had discovered the Daozu experts in the air. Whoosh! An evil intent soared into the sky from within the Royal Heaven Divine Palace. It condensed into the illusory image of holy, sovereign Siezhu in front of the many experts. So many Daozu experts. Chapter 3272. There are only a dozen or so Daozu left in the entire human world, and they were all the most powerful experts of the human race. Now, more than 150 Daozu had appeared outside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, and many of them were peerless Daozu with immortal aura. Human. How could sacred sovereign Xie Zhu not be shocked and afraid when he saw the peerless experts of the same level as the peak experts of the human race? Luckily, that brat Su Fang came prepared. Otherwise, this seat would be in trouble. Thinking of the backup plan Su Fang had left in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, sacred sovereign Xie Zhu's courage was boosted, and he became even more arrogant. Sacred sovereign Xie Zhu, I didn't expect you to be able to become a Daozu, and you even joined Su Fang. A Daozu recognized sacred sovereign Xie Zhu and exclaimed, You're just a Daozu who just became a Daozu. Do you think you can stop so many of us? Sacred sovereign Xie Zhu, this seat remembers you. Zhou Nuo suddenly remembered that sacred sovereign Xie Zhu had just become a Daozu in the Reizegu people's ruins of God. At that time, Zhou Nuo had tried to capture him and take him as a slave, but sacred sovereign Xie Zhu escaped by hiding in the corpse flames. Zhou Nuo looked at sacred sovereign Xie Zhu with disdain and said coldly, Sacred sovereign Xie Zhu, it seems like Su Fang left you behind to guard the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. This seat doesn't see that you're a human, so I don't want to kill you. As long as you open the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace's barrier and capture Su Fang's family and subordinates, this seat can spare your life. Tensei people, who do you think you are? How dare you act all high and mighty in front of this seat? Sacred sovereign Xie Zhu cackled. Huan He looked at the Daozu disdainfully and said, You have a lot of people, but what's the use of that? You won't be able to break through the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace's defenses in a short time. As long as you stall for time, Su Fang will return. When he activates the longevity lamp, all of you will be stripped of your souls and turned into lamp oil. All the Daozu experts' expressions changed. Yinhua sneered disdainfully. More than 100 Daozu can't break through the defense of the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace? What joke! What was there to say to this kind of ant? Let's take down the Royal Heavenly Divine Palace first before anything else happens. Zhou Huan of the Tensei people, who was next to Zhou Nuo, looked at Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu. The power of time swept over Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu and instantly destroyed the thought clone. Take down the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace as soon as possible. Otherwise, when Su Fang returns, he will be in big trouble. Zhou Huan shouted. Boom boom. 10 several Daozu released their thoughts and attacked the barrier. Imperial Edict, the Heavenly Deity Palace, emitted a dazzling golden light. It emitted a brilliant heavenly might and condensed into a golden light screen. The barrier of the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace was connected to the Heavenly Tao, and its defense was truly amazing. Even a peak Daozu expert would need more than 1,000 years to break through it. However, the Daozu experts that Zhou Nuo had brought with him, as well as other Daozu experts from the 12 races, weren't comparable to the peak Daozu experts of the human race. Each of them had extraordinary abilities and unparalleled abilities. Boom! Under the combined attacks of more than a dozen Daozu, the barrier began to shatter. However, it would take more than a day or two for them to break through it completely. Let the seat do it, the youth from the Xianmo race suddenly said. Chi! Chi! A twisted Xian Guang shot out from the black horn on his head. It spiraled and howled like a high-speed drill, tearing through space-time and the barrier. The Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace's defense has been broken. Many Daozu smiled and looked at the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace as if it were a group of fierce beasts looking at their prey. Although Su Fong was in the human world, they were still on tenterhooks and didn't dare to delay for too long. Now that the barrier was finally broken, they could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Just as they were about to charge into the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace through the gap in the barrier, a thought from Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu suddenly appeared. My lords, please wait. This one is willing to capture all of Su Fong's relatives and subordinates and offer them to you, so that you don't have to do it yourself. This time, Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu suddenly became subservient. Zhou Nuo sneered disdainfully. You won't cry until you see the coffin. Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu nodded repeatedly. Yes. This lowly one won't cry until he sees the coffin. Now that I've seen the coffin, I regret it. Please give this lowly one a chance. Go. I'll give you 15 minutes. My patience is limited, Zhou Nuo said majestically. Many thanks, young prince. Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu bowed repeatedly, and then the figure formed by his thought returned to the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. The gap in the yellow light barrier was quickly restored to its original state. 1. An incense stick's worth of time passed in the blink of an eye, but Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu still didn't appear. Clearly, he had been fooled by Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu. Zhou Nuo gritted his teeth. Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu, how dare you trick this lord? This lord will make you suffer a fate worse than death. With a shout, the Daozu experts attacked again. In less than an hour, the barrier was broken again. Everyone, please wait. Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu's thought appeared again. When Su Fong left the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace, he left behind a powerful backup plan. If you enter the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace now, you will be courting death. Clowns die. Zhou Huan, the Tensei people's expert, was furious. He attacked without hesitation and erased Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu's thought. From Saint Sovereign Xie Zhu's complacent laughter came from inside the barrier. This lord doesn't want to offend the Tensei people and the 12 races, so I don't want you to die here. That's why I kindly reminded you. If any of you dare to take a step into the barrier, you will die. Don't blame this lord for not warning you in advance. What a bluff. Other than Su Fong, who else in the human race can block this lord's attack? Zhou Nuo said in a lofty voice. Zhou Huan immediately led the dozen or so Tensei people's Daozu to the broken barrier. Boom! A swift and violent thunderbolt flashed out of the gap in the barrier. It was also a heavenly punishment. The lightning contained the terrifying heavenly Tao's destructive truth and power. In an instant, it enveloped Zhou Huan and the dozen or so Tensei people's Daozu. Boom! It was followed by an earth-shattering explosion. Zhou Huan was sent flying. Under the destructive power, his physical body turned into ashes layer by layer. There really is a peerless expert hidden inside the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. Moreover, is a powerful expert who has mastered the lightning great technique. Huan was shocked and angry. The power of time kept surging out his body. Only then did he manage to resolve the lightning truth and power. However, he was still seriously injured. The other dozen or so Tensei people's Daozu weren't so lucky. 3 of them were turned into ashes on the spot. Even their souls couldn't escape. The others were also seriously injured and were sent flying. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 4 terrifying giants that were 80,000 feet tall stepped out of the gap in the barrier. They were like 4 pillars that supported the sky. Their bodies exuded a terrifying, destructive aura of the lightning art, forcing the Daozu to retreat. They were the lightning god war puppets that Su Fong left in the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. This time, 4 of them had appeared. The most powerful one was still in the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. Experts of the Reizega people? All the Daozu experts sucked in a breath of cold air. Their bodies trembled. They are not living experts of the Reizega people. They are 4 puppets. We have so many Daozu experts. We can kill them. The seriously injured Zhou Huan gritted his teeth and shouted. The Daozu experts began to hesitate, especially the Daozu experts that were recruited by Zhou Nuo. They were here for money and naturally didn't want to lose their lives for money. Without waiting for the Daozu experts to attack, the 4 lightning god war puppets charged toward the Daozu experts. Streaks of lightning art that contained the heavenly Dao Supreme Dao that could destroy all things blasted toward the Daozu experts. First, an unprecedented battle unfolded outside the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. Lightning, the lightning god war puppets, displayed incomparably powerful strength. They were puppets to begin with and were fearless. Their physical bodies could be said to be immortal. The lightning art that they used was shocking, domineering, and unstoppable. Boom, boom, boom. Some of the Daozu experts were killed by the lightning god war puppets. However, the strength of these alien Dao ancestors was indeed extraordinary. Coupled with the fact that there were so many of them, after withstanding the fierce attacks of the 4 Thunder God War puppets, they quickly stabilized themselves and besieged the 4 Thunder God War puppets. The Lightning God War puppets began to weaken. Just at this moment, whoosh, swoosh, human Daozu experts tore through the air. Don't let Su Fong's family fall into the hands of these Daozu experts. Stop them. Xin Daozu, Dark Mother Daozu, Tian Su, and the other experts from the Heaven's Mandate platform joined the battle without hesitation after hearing Dongshin Daozu shout. Know some of the human Daozu experts who arrived at the Imperial Heavenly Divine Realm hid in the void and didn't dare to show their faces when they saw so many experts. Zhou ordered the experts he had recruited. Go, kill your way into the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace and capture Su Fong's family and subordinates no matter what. Follow me. Zhou Huan, who was already heavily injured, also charged into the shattered barrier outside the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. 2 of the dozen or so outsider Dao Fathers that Zhou Nuo had recruited followed Zhou Huan as well. Zhou not long after Huan and the other Daozu experts entered the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace, screams suddenly rang out from within. Zhou Nuo heard Zhou Huan's voice among the screams and knew that something bad had happened. His heart sank. What's going on? Zhou Huan's soul suddenly appeared and transmitted a message to Zhou Nuo. There's another powerful puppet. We've been tricked. Zhou Nuo's expression changed instantly. He wondered if Su Fong had set up a trap for him. Swoosh, swoosh. Numerous Daozu experts teleported out with panicked expressions. Their speed was even faster than before. Whoosh. Only a huge palm stretched out from the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. Palm. Lightning surged in the heart as fast as lightning as it grabbed at one of the Daozu experts. One thunder rumbled, and that Daozu expert didn't even have time to scream before it was reduced to ashes in the palm. Tight. Then, a giant of the Reizegu people charged out from the depths of the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. Numerous. Chapter 3273. The 10,000 Zhonglong Thunder God War Puppet leaped into the air. Crack. Wave with his hand, he unleashed a swift and violent thunderbolt that contained the power of the heavenly Dao's punishment. Another Daozu was killed and turned into ashes. Dongshin Daozu and other Daozu of the human clan cheered up. Many alien race experts began to panic, and thoughts of retreating began to surface in their hearts. In terms of overall strength, the non-humankind could completely suppress the humankind. However, Su Fang's 5 Thunder God war puppets were not only powerful, but they also didn't know what death was. That of those Daozu who were recruited by Zhou Nuo, which one of them would be willing to risk their lives for Zhou Nuo's money. For a time, the human side actually gained the upper hand. Suddenly, silhouettes emerged from the void one after another. It was another 30 Daozu experts. It's an expert from the Qian Yuan clan. Zhou Nuo was pleasantly surprised. He had never imagined that such strong reinforcements would arrive. The 30 experts were from the Qian Yuan clan. So how could the Qian Yuan clan not take revenge on Qian Yuan Peak and cause the Qian Yuan clan's Lihua branch to suffer heavy losses? It was only then that the experts of the Heaven Origin race arrived at the Royal Heaven Divine Palace, just in time to witness the battle. Where did Su Fang attract so many powerful enemies? The hearts of Dongxian Daozu and the other Daozu of the human clan immediately sank to the bottom. For Daozu, the leader of the Qian Yuan clan, separated his hands and transformed into a golden trigram that appeared above the head of a Thunder God war puppet. The Thunder God's war puppet was immediately shackled, unable to move an inch, let alone perform any divine ability. Tight then, the 2 powerhouses from the Qian Yuan clan attacked at the same time and sealed the Thunder God war puppet. Another powerhouse of the Qian Yuan clan activated a token with a golden hexagram on it and pointed it at a Thunder God war puppet. That the void around the Thunder God war puppet suddenly collapsed, and a space-time current gushed out, engulfing the Thunder God war puppet and then swallowing it into the chaotic space-time. Boom! Boom! The other experts of the Heaven Origin race attacked at the same time. The experts recruited by the 12 races and Zhou Nuo also attacked, restraining the remaining 3 Thunder God war puppets. The leading old man swept his cold gaze across the Dao ancestor of the human race and the Royal Heaven Divine Palace. Soon after, he shouted in a domineering manner, "Su Fang is dead. All of you ants of the human race will be wiped out. Kill all of the human race. Don't leave a single ant alive." What? Su Fang is dead? Whether it was Zhou Nuo, the experts he had recruited, the experts from the 12 clans, or the human experts, everyone was dumbfounded and looked at the old man in disbelief. Zhou Nuo's mind exploded, and his body trembled. He couldn't believe his ears. He forcefully suppressed the shock and ecstasy in his heart and hurriedly asked, "Sir Qian Fang, I'm Zhou Nuo of the Tensei people. Has Su Fang really died?" Su Fang, that madman, is extremely daring. He actually snuck into our Heaven Origin Peak. Although he killed some of our clansmen, he was still killed by our experts in the end. The old man named Qian Fang from the Heaven Origin race displayed a domineering aura as he spoke proudly. Su Fang naturally, he wouldn't take the initiative to say that Su Fang had killed countless experts of the Heaven Origin race in the Heaven Origin Peak. Also, he didn't say that Su Fang had gone crazy because of the killing intent and battle intent. Instead, he claimed that he had been killed by the experts of the Heaven Origin race to save the face of the Heaven Origin race. According to the undying of the Heaven Origin race, Su Fang was dead for sure. As for how he died, who would care about that? Su Fang is dead? Ha ha ha! Zhou Nuo couldn't help but laugh out loud, venting the gloominess and resentment in his heart since his failure. He even began to imagine. That was why he wasn't killed by the Leisha original realm after failing the test of the 5th level of heaven. It was because Su Fang had died that the Leisha original realm spirit spared his life. Perhaps he would have a chance to continue the test of the Leisha original realm. Now, Su Fang is finally dead. Too arrogant. He thought that he was an undying realm expert and dared to kill his way into the Heaven Origin Peak of the Heaven Origin race. He had no one to blame but himself for seeking death. The other Daozu also heaved a sigh of relief. They were incomparably happy. That's impossible. How could Su Fang die? Xian Daozu, Mother Daozu Dark, and the other human Daozu instantly felt that the sky had fallen. Su Fang was the hope of the human race. What hope did the human race have after his death? Seems like the heavenly Tao wants to destroy the human race. No one can change it. Sigh. Some human Daozu sighed, their hearts filled with pessimism and despair. That some of the human Tao ancestors who were hiding in the dark were shocked and scared out of their wits. The words of the Heaven Origin Race expert, Qian Fong, were transmitted into the Heaven Origin Divine Palace. Sha! Over there! Sha! Everyone in the Heaven Origin Divine Palace, including Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, and other family members by Ling, Qingyu, Luo, and other friends, were all stunned. The next moment, the sky fell and the earth cracked. Holy Venerable Xie Zhu hid in the Heaven Origin Divine Palace, trembling in fear. It's over. It's over now. I originally planned to follow that brat Su Fong and live a good life. Now, that brat turned out to be a short-lived ghost. I have also offended the Tensei people and the 12 races. What should I do now? Zhou Nua let out a murderous roar. Su Fong may be dead, but his family, friends, subordinates, and anyone related to Su Fong must not be let go. A peaked Daozu of the Mayfly race sneered and said, Su Fong killed so many of our race's experts. It's not enough to just kill his people. The entire human race must die. Qian Fong said indifferently. The order of our immortal realm experts is to not even let an ant in the human world go. Each force was more ruthless than the other. At this moment, they saw the entire human race as sheep waiting to be slaughtered. The human race is not an ant that you can slaughter. Even if Su Fong is really dead, there are still the experts of the human race. Even if we fight to the last moment, we will not allow you to take one step into the Heaven Origin Divine Palace. Xian Daozu said resolutely. He flashed and stood in front of the Heaven Origin Divine Palace. I have long wanted to follow that old bastard Xixian. This is a good chance. Count me in. Mother Daozu of the Dark World said faintly. She also teleported and stood beside Dongxian Daozu. I cultivate the great Tao of destiny and am connected to the fate of the human race. When the human race rises, I will be strong. When the human race falls, I will not be able to escape death. Rather than that, I would rather die with a bang. Tian Su, the expert from the Heaven's Fate stage, shouted and teleported over as well. Shua! Shua! There were 5 other human Daozu, Bei, Xian Daozu, Yellow Spring Dharma Ancestor, Haotian Daozu, and 2 other rogue cultivators. They were all determined and stood together with Dongxian Daozu and the others. There were also 3 Daozu who were hesitating. They want to take a chance and escape. Forget it. A figure flashed out of the Heaven Origin Divine Palace and appeared beside Dongxian Daozu. East Daozu raised his eyebrows. Holy Sovereign Xie, you are not a human. You can just leave now. Holy Sage Xie cackled. If it weren't for that brat Su Fong, I would still be trapped in the ice cave of the Ice Soul Holy Region. He handed the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace to me before he left, so I can't just run away like that. Let's fight to the death. Shua! 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 Cultivators flew out of the Heaven Origin Divine Palace. For the leader turned out to be a middle-aged cultivator in the Tao Lord realm. Beside him were some low-level cultivators and great demons. In front of a Tao ancestor, they were not even ants. At most, they could only be regarded as dust. Behind them were tens of millions of cultivators. At this moment, almost all of Su Fong's subordinates had come out of the Heaven Origin Divine Palace. Seeing the middle-aged man, Dongxian Daozu's expression changed. Su Yaotian, what are you doing here? Go back. The middle-aged man was Su Fong's father, Su Yaotian. Around him were all Su Fong's relatives and friends. Apart from those who had not reached the Tao True Realm and could not bear the shackles of the Jiushuan Divine Realm, everyone else had come out. Su Yaotian stroked his beard and smiled. I didn't have much success in my life, but I gave birth to a good son, Su Fong. From the small world until now, I have been relying on my son's protection. Now that my son is gone, as his father, I naturally have to stand up. Even if I die, I won't embarrass my son. Brother Su, Daozu, and the other human Daozu were all shocked. Grief and indignation surged from their hearts. Shu Wanjin said coldly. I am Su Fang's Tao companion. If he dies, I don't want to live either. Even if I can't kill my enemy, I will accompany him in death. Among Su Fang's friends, there are no cowards. Isn't it just death? What's there to be afraid of? Luo shouted coldly. The heroic spirit of facing death unflinchingly rose in his heart. Ching Feather followed up with a domineering shout. I was originally just a big goblin in a low-level small world. To be able to go from a small world to a large world, from a large world to the myriad of worlds, and then to transcend the low-level universe and see the glory of the Jioshuan divine realm. Even if I die, it will be worth it. It's a pity that I can't kill a few Daozu. Even if I can only cut off a strand of the Daozu's hair, I will die with no regrets. Bai Ling lamented. She didn't feel the fear of death at all. Zhou Nuo sneered disdainfully. A bunch of ants. You're about to die, yet you still insist on saying such bold words. Let's see how long you can last when I step on your heads, and you're trembling and begging for mercy under my feet. I'll suppress all of you. The 3 human Daozu, who were still hesitating, no longer hesitated. They turned around and fled. Oh my God! Ji, Qian, the Yuan race's experts, had already expected this. They used their abilities to seal the space-time. Then, the 5 Daozu joined forces and killed the 3 human Daozu. Boom! 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 More than 100 Daozu of the non-human race charged towards the Dongxian Daozu and the others. The 5 Thunder God war puppets that Su Fang left in the Royal Heaven Divine Palace were either restrained by the Qian Yuan race's experts or exiled to the primal chaos. They couldn't be of any use now. The remaining human Daozu and Holy Sovereign Siezhu made up a total of 8, while the non-human race had more than 100. The difference in strength between the 2 sides was obvious. Wait. Chapter 3274. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. You're overestimating yourself. Qian Fang sneered disdainfully. Qian, he shouted coldly. Let them live for now. My clan will execute these human experts and Su Fang's family in public. We'll let all the races in the primal chaos know the consequences of offending the Qian Yuan clan. Kill! Dongxian Daozu roared resolutely. Millions of thoughts condensed into a huge yin-yang pattern, which turned into a light screen in front of him. Boom! 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 Although Dongxian Daozu had grasped a trace of immortal power, his defense couldn't withstand a single blow from so many experts. The light screen formed by the yin-yang pattern shattered instantly. As soon as his defense was broken, Dongxian Daozu was heavily injured by the 3 alien Daozu. Heaven! Su released the spider and performed a supreme divine ability of the great Tao of destiny, but it was useless. A Qian Yuan expert performed a divination on the spider, which merged with the heavenly Tao and sealed it with the power of the heavenly Tao. Tiansu's body was also shattered. His injuries were even more serious than Dongxian Daozu's. Left. The human Daozu below were either shackled or severely injured. Only Holy Sovereign Siezhu was unharmed because he had an immortal body and was cunning enough to hide at the back. This was the result of the experts of the Qian Yuan clan not wanting to kill them. Otherwise, all the human Daozu and Su Fang's family and subordinates would have been killed. The human cultivators below the Daozu were like weak chickens waiting to be slaughtered in front of the Daozu. They were shackled in the world created by the divination by the expert of the Qian Yuan clan, Qian Fang. Humans are a bunch of ants. What right do you have to live in the primal chaos? Remember, if you reincarnate, don't have any karma with Su Fang. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape the fate of ants. I'll let you live for a few more days. I'll use your blood and souls as sacrifices to the clansmen killed by Su Fang. Qian Fang's voice was filled with killing intent. He could kill everyone with just a thought. The sins of the heavens can be forgiven, but the sins of one's own making are the hardest to bear. A calm voice that was as cold and emotionless as the heavenly Tao came from the void. Ping, his calm voice was like a thunderclap that exploded in the minds of the Qian Yuan clan experts, Zhou Nuo, and all the human race cultivators. That was because the owner of that voice was the hope of the human race and also the nightmare of those foreign race powerhouses. Also, only the Daozu experts from the 12 clans had only heard rumors about Su Fong and had never seen his strength. It could be said that the ignorant were fearless, so none of them had much of a reaction. All of you die. Viciousness and madness flashed through Qian Fong's eyes. With a thought, he wanted to kill all the human cultivators. Shui don't know a square-shaped rock that was about 300 meters tall suddenly appeared above the trigram like a huge seal. A golden rune appeared at the bottom of the rock, erupting with supreme heavenly Tao principles and powerful might that could strip a cultivator of their abilities. Puff, the power of Qian Fong's divination immediately disappeared, and it burst like a bubble. Ping, a figure, stepped out of the void. Ping, the figure, wasn't very tall, but it made people feel as unfathomable as the heavenly Tao. An indescribable sense of reverence rose from the bottom of their hearts uncontrollably. Su Fong had finally returned from the Luai's original realm. Impossible! How can you not be dead? Qian Fong was dumbfounded. The Qian Yuan clan experts had all turned into ice sculptures. Qian, the immortal realm expert of the Yuan clan, had said that Su Fong had entered a state of madness and would eventually burn himself to death. Now, however, Su Fong had appeared before their eyes, alive and well. How could they not be surprised? How could they not be shocked? Some of the Qian Yuan clan experts had witnessed Su Fong's massacre on Qian Yuan Peak. Now that they were facing Su Fong again, how could they not be afraid? Su Fong, you're not dead? How can you not be dead? Zhou Nuo was shocked and couldn't help but gnash his teeth. It wasn't just empty joy. Su Fong was alive, which meant that he couldn't escape death. It was just a matter of time. How could he not hate him? Fong Su Fong, junior brother. Yao Tian, Dongxin Daozu, Shu Wanjin, and the others were all shocked and pleasantly surprised. All the despair they'd felt before instantly vanished. Su Fong Xinguang swept over everyone. He saw the heavily injured Dongxin Daozu, Tian Su, and the shackled mother of the Dark Daozu, and the others. Then, he looked at his father, Su Yao Tian, and his other relatives, friends, and subordinates. If he'd come a moment later, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Although Su Fong's Dao heart had reached the level of great indifference and remained unperturbed, the way he looked at the other race experts was as cold as ice. Then, he said in an indifferent voice that sounded like a heavenly punishment, "How do you choose to die? Human madman, you're not an immortal realm expert. How dare you be so arrogant in front of so many Daozu experts? I've heard your name for a long time. I don't believe that a human cultivator like you can defy the heavens." The peak Daozu expert from the Mayfly clan shouted domineeringly. He transformed into his true body, which was a huge black ant that was thousands of feet long. He bit at Su Fong fiercely from afar. Su, the void around Su Fong instantly shattered. The Mayfly clan expert was going to tear him apart along with Su Fong. Then I, Su Fong, will make you believe that although I'm not an immortal realm expert, killing you is as easy as killing a chicken. Su Fong smiled casually. He waved his hand and a battle flag appeared. It was the supreme battle flag. Hula, a monstrous killing intent and battle intent swept out from the battle flag. Zhou, the shattered void, was torn apart by the battle flag like a rag. Then the monstrous killing intent swept out. The Mayfly clan expert had nowhere to run. He was instantly enveloped by the supreme battle flag's divine power. His Tao heart was shattered, and his soul origin was wiped out by the fierce will. The blood and qi in his body spurted out and was absorbed by the battle flag. Waving in the blink of an eye, a powerful Tao ancestor whose strength was close to the limit of the 9th level Tao ancestor was slain by Su Fong's battle flag. Numerous Daozu experts from other clans were horrified, especially the Daozu experts from the Heaven Origin clan. Su Fong's strength was several times more powerful than when he was on the Heaven Origin peak. How could they not be shocked? You just said that you want to make it difficult for even an ant to survive in the human world. Su Fong looked calmly at the Heaven Origin clan expert, Qian Fong. Qian Fong. Qian Fong's figure trembled. He subconsciously shrank back. Under Su Fong's majesty, he didn't dare to face Su Fong. Every Daozu expert had a look of fear on their faces. They were obviously intimidated by the supreme battle flag's power. There are so many Daozu experts. We can exhaust him to death. Let's attack together. Zhou Nuo roared angrily. That's right. The only thing we can do now is to join hands and fight. Qian Fang gritted his teeth and shouted. At this point, they had no choice but to fight with their lives on the line. Even an immortal realm expert can't kill all of us. Is that human really so heaven-defying that a Daozu expert can possess immortal realm strength? Let's join hands and kill Su Fang. A Daozu expert from the Blood Jia clan roared wildly. He performed the Blood Jia clan's peerless divine power, the blood-congealing butterfly technique, and charged towards Su Fang. Other Daozu experts from the 12 clans and the Heaven Origin clan also realized that the only way now was to fight Su Fang to the death. They all performed their most powerful divine powers and activated the Xian Bao to attack Su Fang and the other human cultivators. Zhou Nu adjust as the foreign race powerhouses recruited by Zhou Nuo were hesitating about whether or not they should attack. Zhou Nuo suddenly transmitted his divine sense to them. Have the Qian Yuan race and the powerhouses of the 12 races hold Su Fang back. Let's go. He had brought a total of 100 Daozu with him to the human world. However, at this time, the eternal race had suffered disastrous casualties. Zhou Huan was only left with his soul. The other foreign race experts that he had recruited were mostly a motley crew. Moreover, they weren't united. Su Fang estimated that they would flee in disorder as soon as they confronted him. Now, if they didn't leave now, when would they? After quickly escaping from the Imperial Heaven Divine Realm, Zhou Nuo immediately took out the Xian Bao and entered the Xian Bao's internal space with the other experts. He then activated the Xian Bao and flew away. No didn't leave the human world. Instead, he headed straight for the Western Mystic Divine Realm. He didn't escape from the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace to save his life. He had a bigger plan. Whoosh, whoosh. Su Fang Qitian's avatar released a huge rune that formed a golden rune. It formed a huge barrier that enveloped the human cultivators. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The supreme battle banner fluttered above Su Fang's head even though there was no wind. Divine power enveloped the surroundings and instantly transformed into a space of slaughter. It caused the numerous alien Dao ancestors to feel as if they were trapped in a battlefield of slaughter. They were shackled and unable to free themselves. Their Dao hearts were shaken and their wills were shaken. This was the powerful ability of the Supreme Battle Banner. The aura it released could create a slaughtering space-time that shackled experts and plunged their enemies into a slaughtering battlefield. Kill, kill, kill. One countless figures exuded a monstrous killing intent as they let out roars of killing. They surged out of the war banner as if they were gods of death. The Supreme Battle Banner had absorbed the blood, battle intent, and killing intent of countless experts. It was then activated by Su Fang's evil corpse and transformed into the wills of gods of death. 5 more than 10 foreign Daozu were instantly drowned by the countless shadows. This, although the wills of gods of death couldn't do anything to the Daozu experts, they were able to keep them busy and make it difficult for them to join forces and attack Su Fang. Die, all of you! Su Fang's other avatars took advantage of the situation to attack. Each of them unleashed their most powerful mystiques and charged madly at the foreign Daozu experts, reaping their lives one by one. This, the longevity avatar, was the most terrifying. Although Su Fang didn't activate it with all his might, with the help of the Supreme Battle Banner, flames danced and flames swept out. They swept up a foreign Daozu expert's soul essence and immediately pulled it out. Su Fang's physical body also activated the heaven-piercing Blood King vines. They shuttled through the Daozu experts and pierced through the bodies of the ordinary Daozu experts. Yun, Su Fang also released the spiders. Together with the purple Fate avatar, they frenziedly devoured the fortunes of the foreign Daozu experts and brought them endless misfortune. Chapter 3275. Under the cover of the supreme battle flag's divine power, screams and explosions rang out one after another. It was more than 10 times more tragic than the previous battle. So after severing the 3 corpses, Fang Zhengji's state of mind had transcended, and the power of his superpower had increased greatly. His overall strength had also increased, and he now possessed 99% of the Daozu's ultimate strength. Su Ping, in addition to the supreme battle flag's divine power, it could not only suppress powerful enemies, but it could also increase the strength of Su Fang's Dharma body and Thunder God battle soul. As a result, Su Fang's overall strength had increased by a few notches. Because of this, the entire situation seemed to be leaning towards one side. Su Ping, how shocking was it that a single person could fight against more than 50 Daozu of the alien tribe, and he was crushing them all? East Daozu and the others were inside the bounded domain. When they saw this scene, all of them were shocked and exclaimed, "What kind of opportunity did Su Fang obtain after leaving the human world? How did his strength become so shocking?" Su Fang's current strength is probably comparable to an immortal realm expert. Good. The stronger Su Fang is, the more hope the human clan has. In the future, he will definitely lead the human clan to stand proudly among the myriad races in the chaos. The Daozu experts discussed secretly, and all of them were extremely excited. Su Ping, Yao Tian, and the others, as well as the big goblin, were dumbfounded. They were so shocked that they could not utter a single word. Not only did Su Fang not die, but his strength has also become so shocking. Fortunately, I did not run away. Otherwise, with that kid's temper, I would not have a good time in the future. Saint Master Xie was secretly rejoicing, but at the same time, he felt a lingering fear. The frenzied killing lasted for 6 hours. More than 40 ordinary Daozu were all killed by Su Fang, and their souls were shackled by the longevity lamp. In the slaughter space-time, there were only 12 peak Daozu experts left. The surrounding space-time was shackled by the supreme battle flag, so the remaining Daozu experts could not escape. Even if they had the strength and ability to break the shackles of the primordial heavenly treasure, Su Fang would not give them any chance. Su Fang's true body suddenly appeared in front of Qian Yuan clan's expert, Qian Fang, who was fighting with the enormous Thunder God war puppet. Su Ping, he turned to Qian Fang. Su Fang said coldly, "You just said you wanted to kill all humans, not even an ant. I'm afraid you don't have a chance now." Fang Zheng was fighting with the strongest Thunder God war puppet and was completely suppressed by the war puppet. Su! If I let you go, will the Qian Yuan clan let me, Su Fang, and the human race go? Su Fang smiled faintly as he activated the heaven-piercing Blood King vine. It was like 10,000 snakes dancing together as it charged towards Qian Fang. Qian Yuan, clan's expert. Affected by the supreme battle flag, Qian Fang's body became sluggish. He had to burn his thoughts to teleport away from the heaven-piercing Blood King vine's attack. But, unexpectedly, the Thunder God war puppet leaped over from the side and launched a destructive lightning strike on Qian Fang's body. Qian Fang's body was immediately shattered. Qian Fang's soul origin managed to escape the calamity, but it was entangled by a fiery light that swept over. Su Fang, although I'm dead, you'll die a horrible death. Just wait to be skinned alive by the immortal realm experts of my clan, and your soul will be refined forever. Under the power of the longevity lamp, Qian Fang's soul origin could not resist at all. It was about to be devoured by the longevity lamp, so it sent a message to Su Fang. You want to die? It's not that easy. All the alien races who attacked the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace will be refined forever in my longevity lamp. You won't be an exception. Su Fang's indifferent voice was as cold and merciless as the heavenly Tao. Qian Fang fell into despair. He could only watch as the longevity lamp sucked him in. Surrender. I'm willing to surrender. I only beg Su Fangda to spare my life. An expert from the Savage Dragon clan saw Qian Fang's fate and his will collapsed. He begged Su Fang for mercy loudly. I'm also willing to surrender. Su Fangdao, please spare my life. The other 6 experts from the other clans also spoke. They were all Daozu experts from the 12 clans. The Daozu experts of the Qianyuan clan were still fighting like cornered beasts. They burned everything they had in an attempt to break free from the supreme battle flag. The Qianyuan clan was a higher race in the chaos space. Naturally, they wouldn't surrender so easily. Moreover, it was impossible for them to surrender even if they wanted to. They had left a wisp of their soul in the Qianyuan clan. If they betrayed the clan, they would be killed by an immortal realm expert using a forbidden art. Therefore, they would rather die in battle than surrender to Su Fang. Those who are willing to surrender, open your souls and Dao palaces and accept the shackles. Su Fang used the longevity lamp as the source to condense soul-sealing seeds and injected them into the souls of the 7 experts. With their source souls shackled and Su Fang possessing the longevity lamp, their souls wouldn't die. Even if Su Fang died, the Daozu wouldn't rebel. Although Su Fang wanted to kill all the Daozu experts, his Dao heart remained calm. These Daozu experts were still useful to him, so he couldn't kill them for the time being. Even if the clan migrated to the Luai's original domain, they still needed to grow stronger. These Daozu experts would be of great use in the future. At the very least, they could be used as cannon fodder. It was difficult to find cannon fodder that was as strong as the Daozu experts. After shackling the Daozu experts of the 12 clans, Su Fang absorbed them into his Dao palace. When he had time, he would slowly train them and make them submit to him. Then, Su Fang began to focus on dealing with the remaining experts of the Qianyuan clan. These experts of the Qianyuan clan were indeed powerful. However, they encountered Su Fang, who had the supreme battle flag and longevity lamp, 2 primordial heavenly treasures. Unless they had immortal realm strength, how could they escape the fate of being suppressed? In the end, the remaining experts of the Qianyuan clan were all stripped of their souls by Su Fang using the longevity lamp and shackled within it. Of course, he wouldn't let them die so easily. He would let them be burned and tortured in the longevity lamp. If Su Fang tortured them so cruelly before killing the evil corpse, it would more or less affect their Dao heart. Now, after killing the evil corpse, his Dao heart was like the sky. The heavenly Dao was merciless. Torturing these enemies wouldn't affect his Dao heart at all. Another one, Su Fang had other intentions for shackling the souls of so many Daozu experts. These Daozu experts came from different chaos races. They had different talents and abilities. Moreover, they had mastered various cultivation techniques, divine powers, elixirs, and treasures. They were the best of the best among the chaos races. Su Fang planned to strip their memories and let the human cultivators learn from them. It would be greatly beneficial to the overall improvement of the human race in the future. Su Fang kept all the treasures and avatars in his Dao palace after dealing with all his enemies. Then he took out a dozen elixirs and started to make the heaven-piercing Blood King vine devour them. The battle just now seemed easy. However, how could it be easy when facing so many experts of the Daozu? In this battle, he suppressed more than 50 Daozu experts. Among them, there were quite a few who had reached the limit of 9th stage Daozu. Su Fang had also consumed a lot of energy. Slightly after recovering a little, Su Fang's destiny avatar deduced everything that had happened. In an instant, he understood everything clearly. This time, it was really dangerous. Su Fang murmured. Su Fang felt lucky and scared. However, then, he put away his Qi Tian avatar. The barrier protecting the human cultivators also disappeared. The human Daozu experts were all heavily injured. They were all sitting cross-legged to recover. Su Fang took out the storage rings from the corpses of the Qianyuan experts. He took out the elixirs and distributed them to Dongxian Daozu and the others. Qian Fang was also a big shot of the Qianyuan race. The elixirs he carried with him were naturally very powerful. With these elixirs, not only could Dongxian Daozu and the others recover quickly, they might even be able to cultivate with the help of these elixirs. Su Fong looked at his father and said, "I've frightened you." Su Yaotian laughed and said, "Don't be afraid. You, as a son, can risk your life. What's a little scare for me? It's just a distraction." Su Fong laughed. Su Yaotian was used to being carefree. He actually treated life and death as a distraction. He looked at Xian Yin Tian, Shu Yun Tian, and the other elders. Then, his gaze landed on Shu Wanjin. His eyes became gentle. "I've made you worry, senior sister." Although he didn't love Shu Wanjin as much as Xuanxin and Goddess Luo, he still respected her. "Who's worried about you, little brat?" Shu Wanjin's face turned slightly red. Her eyes also turned red. Head Su Fong glanced at Bai Ling, Qin Yu, Luo, and the other friends. He found that their eyes were no longer as casual as before. Instead, they were filled with respect. Su Fong sighed in his heart. With his current strength, he was only one step away from being able to coexist with the heavenly Tao. Who wouldn't respect him? Even his family members were no exception. Yi Xiandaozu said to Su Fong in a deep voice, "Su Fong, that Tensei people Zhou Nua has escaped. This person will definitely be a big threat in the future." Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. "It's okay. He won't be able to escape." As long as Su Fong nodded, Realm Spirit could use the Luai's original realms will to easily kill Zhou Nua. Even an immortal realm expert wouldn't be able to save him. It would be useless no matter where he ran. Daozu the Dark Mother continued coldly. "There are also some human Daozu. When the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace was in danger, some of them stayed and watched, while some of them ran away. These people should all be killed." Xian Daozu, Tian Su, and the other experts were furious. Su Fong shook his head. "Who isn't afraid of death? Besides, they are human Daozu after all. Forget it." Su Fong's Dao heart was open-minded. If it was in the past, he naturally wouldn't let those human Daozu who ran away from the battle. Clang, however, although he spared them, when a human race moved to the Luai's original realm, those human Daozu who ran away would naturally be excluded from the core of the human race by Su Fong. True. Chapter 3276. Needless to say, Dongxian Daozu, Dark Mother Daozu, Tian Su, and the other Daozu, with their relationship with Su Fong, would definitely become real giants in the Leisha original sector in the future. North Xian Daozu, Haotian Daozu, Yellow Spring Dharma Ancestor, and the other independent cultivators would naturally become real figures of power in the human race in the future. Until compared to the human Daozu who had fled at the last minute, the status and resources they would enjoy in the Leisha original sector were naturally far inferior to those of Dongxian Daozu and the others. The human Daozu who had stayed, especially the independent cultivators like Yellow Spring Dharma Ancestor, were all filled with anticipation. Due to the limitation of resources, the human race could not surpass the Daozu. When they entered the Leisha original sector, they might be able to surpass the Daozu in their lifetime. Tian Su suddenly opened his mouth and said, "Su Fong, you've killed countless Daozu of the alien race. With your strength, only the immortals can deal with you. I'm afraid the Tensei people, the Qinyuan race, and the immortals of the 12 races will soon come to the human world to attack you. What should we do by then?" Everyone became nervous. Su Fong nodded and said, "Lord Tian Su's worries are not unfounded. Seniors, please hurry to the human god realms to gather the human race and prepare to move to the Leisha original sector." Move to the Leisha original sector now? Everyone was stunned and looked at Su Fong in surprise. East. Xian Daozu immediately understood and said in a trembling voice, "Su Fong, you've passed the test of the 6th level of the Leisha original sector?" Su Fong said with certainty, "Yes. I become the young master of the Leisha original sector, so I can control the lower and middle levels of the Leisha original sector. Seniors, all the humans, be it Daozu, Dao Saints, or ordinary people from the low-level worlds, can move to the Leisha original sector." Shocked, happy, Jane. It was a big surprise. Ever since the invasion of the alien race, who hadn't been on the edge all the time, Now, not only did they have to face the 10 God Lord evil corpses, but they also had to face the threat of the 12 races, the 10 Say people, and the Heaven Origin race. They could be wiped out at any moment. Only now that they were going to migrate to the original realm of Luai's Lake, all their difficulties and problems would disappear. How could they not be overjoyed? Su Fong continued. The cultivation environment in the Leisure original realm is 10 times better than that of the human world. Not only does the human race no longer have to worry about the evil corpses of the 10 Directions gods and the threat of the alien races, it is only a matter of time before the human race rises in the Leisure original realm and stands proudly among the myriad races in the chaos. There's no time to lose. I'll go make preparations now. Northern Profound Daozu was the most anxious of them all. Ignoring his injuries, he immediately left the Royal Heaven Divine region and returned to the Northern Profound Divine region. The experts of Daozu also bid farewell to Su Fong and left. Outside the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace, only Su Fong's family, friends, and subordinates were left. Su Fong ordered Holy Sovereign Siezhu, Wine Saint, and other experts to immediately send a message to the Royal Heaven Divine region and the surrounding low-level universes in the chaos space, so that they could quickly make preparations and move to the original realm of Luai's Lake. Once the human race had settled down, Su Fong looked at his father, Su Yaotian, Xian Lingzi, and Xian Tian, and said with a smile, Xuanqin gave birth to a son not long ago. I'm a father now. 2 of you are going to be grandfathers, and 1 of you is going to be a great-grandfather. Su Yaotian staggered and nearly fell. He said in a trembling voice, I'm going to be a grandfather. Family, Su has a descendant. Xian Tian's old face bloomed into a smile, and his white beard trembled. Doesn't that mean that I'm going to be an aunt too? Bai Ling laughed loudly. He flew into the air and drew a beautiful arc in the air. His laughter resounded in all directions. Qingyu laughed and said, You finally gave birth to a son. I thought you couldn't do it. Su Fong smiled bitterly. When Su Fong saw Shu Wanjin's resentful face, he felt a slight headache. He hurriedly transmitted his divine thought to her. Senior sister, don't worry. I'll work harder. Little brat, what do I need you to work harder for? Shu Wanjin's face instantly turned red. Then she transmitted her divine thought again. I want a daughter, not a son. La smiled at Su Fong. Su Fong, boy, congratulations. Congratulations, Master. Congratulations. Master is mighty. Master is invincible. It was unknown which subordinate took the lead, but all the cultivators and great demons under his command cheered in unison, thunderous cheers resounding. Su Fong smiled bitterly again. The birth of a son was indeed a joyous occasion, but what did it have to do with his invincibility? After returning to the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace, Su Fong returned to the inner space of the cave residence. Worried that the undying of the other races would come at any time, Su Fong's destiny Dharma body deduced. God! The smile on Fong's face gradually disappeared. As it turned out, he had already deduced that Zhou Nuo had gone to the Western Profound Divine Realm, and his goal was precisely to repeat the same trick and undo the seal on the Western Profound Mountain to release the 10 Divine Masters. Su Fong no longer placed the 10 Directions Divine Lord Evil Corpse in his heart. Su Fong also couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Zhou Nuo's final act of madness. If he would make Zhou Nuo work hard for nothing, it would all be for naught. However, Su Fong also deduced an unexpected person. After a long time, Su Fong sighed. Master Xian, I didn't expect you to come to the human world again. I wonder how many times you've reincarnated? Western Mystic Mountain. By after the battle at the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace, the human Daozu, guarding the perimeter of the Western Mystic Mountain, had all left. Zhou Nuo led more than 80 Daozu and easily broke the formation and arrived above the Western Mystic Mountain. However, Zhou Nuo then ordered the other races to work together and create a powerful barrier around the perimeter to prevent the human Daozu from attacking. Zhou Nuo looked down at the Western Mystic Mountain, his eyes filled with endless madness and viciousness. Su Fong, oh Su Fong, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. As long as the seal of the Western Mystic Mountain is broken and the 10 Divine Lords are released, you won't be able to escape death, even if the undying of my race doesn't act. When Zhou Nuo returned to the human world unscathed, he realized that his end was near. Even if he died, he would drag Su Fong down with him and perish together with Su Fong. More than 80 Daozu powerhouses attacked the Western Mystic Mountain one after another. The seal that the Daozu had sacrificed himself to create and the seal that Su Fong had created with the imperial heavenly divine body was shaken once more. The power of the seal was constantly being shattered. Amongst the Dao Fathers of the human race, the middle-aged cultivator named Dao Father Yao Ming stared at the Western Mystic Mountain, his eyes filled with confusion and bewilderment. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. About 10 years later, Su Fong was sitting cross-legged in his cave. Dongxian Daozu sent him a mental message. Su Fong, things are not good. The experts of the other races have created a barrier outside the Western Mystic Mountain and are madly attacking the seal from inside in an attempt to release the 10 Divine Lords. I estimate that the 10 Divine Lords will break out of the seal in less than 1,000 years. Fang Shan smiled embarrassedly. Master, I already knew about this. You already knew? Could it be that you already have the power to kill the 10 Divine Lords? Dongxian Daozu was stunned at first, then said in shock. The corpse of the 10 Divine Lords hasn't reached the undying level yet. Even if I can't kill him now, I don't fear him either. The only thing I'm worried about right now is the undying experts of the other races. Fang Shan's casual tone shocked Dongxian Daozu again. He looked at Su Fong and asked, Master, how are the preparations of the Eastern Mystic Divine region? Dongxian Daozu replied, I was just about to ask you that. Everything is ready in the Eastern Mystic Divine region. When can we move to the Thunder Marsh original realm? So soon? Su Fong was surprised. Let's begin immediately. Without further ado, Su Fong left the cave. Will with a thought, thunder rumbled in the sky above the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Then, a heavenly gate made of lightning appeared. Su Fong entered the heavenly gate. In less than 10 breaths, the heavenly gate appeared above the Eastern Mystic Heaven Pavilion. Su Fong flashed out of the heavenly gate, surrounded by lightning. East Dongshuan Daozu, the cultivators of the Eastern Mystic Heaven Pavilion, and countless cultivators from the other mystic realms of the Eastern Mystic Divine region were all gathered outside the Eastern Mystic Heaven Pavilion. Of course, this was not everyone. In fact, it was not even a 10,000th of the Eastern Mystic Divine region. Most of the cultivators and mortals were gathered in the various mystic realms of the Eastern Mystic Divine region, as well as the low-level universes in the chaos. Greetings, Su Fongda. Apart from Dongxian Daozu, the other cultivators bowed to Su Fong. Su Fong Shan scanned the crowd and found many familiar faces. His friends like Gu Tianqi, Dongxian Daoyan, Shu Chongxiao, and Dongxian Yichen were all present. You're welcome. Fang Shan nodded with a smile and cupped his fists at the crowd. Then he said to Dongxian Daozu, Master, I need your help. Tell me, what should we do? Dongxian Daozu chuckled. Answer. Next, Su Fong asked Realm Spirit to activate the will of the Luai's origin realm and merge it with Dongxian Daozu's will, covering the mystic realms of the Eastern Mystic Divine region. Even the countless low-level universes in the chaos outside the Eastern Mystic Divine region were all enveloped by the will that resembled the heavenly Tao. Gather. Realm Spirit's voice spread in all directions. As long as the cultivators and mortals did not resist the will of the Luai's origin realm, they were enveloped by a divine aura and flew uncontrollably toward the heavenly gates. There were simply too many people. They were so dense that they looked like a swarm of ants. They gathered into a torrent and surged into the Leisha original realm. 1. After entering the Luai's origin realm, each person was sent to a different time and space according to their aura. Come. The cultivators and mortals from the low-level universes were sent to the lower 3 heavens. The mortals from the various mystic realms were sent to the 4th heavens, while the cultivators were sent to the 5th and 6th heavens, according to their cultivation base. 3. This lasted for 3 years before the crowd gradually thinned out. There are still people in the mystic realms and low-level universes? Su Fengshan asked. Fengshan projected his senses and found that there were still many cultivators and mortals in some of the mystic realms. He could not help but be surprised. It was not that he did not want to save them, but that they had resisted the will, which was equivalent to giving up on leaving. Dongxian Daozu glanced at the Eastern Mystic Pavilion and sighed. It's hard to leave one's homeland. Even I, your master, am reluctant to leave Dongxian, let alone those cultivators and mortals. Chapter 3277. Seeing Dongxian Daozu's melancholy and reluctance to part, Su Feng consoled him. Master, you don't have to be sentimental. Entering the Luai's origin realm is only temporary. Sooner or later, the human race will not only return to the Jiuquan divine realm, but also dominate the chaos. Daozu nodded. I hope that day will come soon. Su Feng took out a storage ring and flew to Dongxian Daozu. Master, enter the Luai's origin realm first and settle down the cultivators of Dongxian divine realm. Set up a training ground. Take these resources. Daozu grabbed the storage ring and scanned it with his consciousness. He was shocked. So many resources. It's enough for me to rebuild a divine realm. It's too much. Dongxian divine realm has accumulated a lot of resources over the years. How can I use your resources in the Luai's origin realm? Master, please don't decline. These resources are nothing to me. Su Feng smiled sheepishly. He was speaking the truth. Tong. Su Feng had obtained a shocking amount of resources after passing the 6th heaven of the Luai's origin realm. What he gave to Dongxian Daozu was less than a 10,000th of what he had. Not only that, Su Feng had killed countless cultivators from the Qianyuan clan and the 12 races, but there were also hundreds of Daozu experts. He had also obtained countless treasures. How could he lack cultivation resources? Su Feng then grabbed 10 ingress Dao fruits with a wave of his hand and flew to Dongxian Daozu. Master, these are the ingress Dao fruits, also known as the Luai's Dao fruits. You can increase your chances of breaking through to the Daozu realm with this supreme treasure. I hope that Master can nurture more Dao Father experts from Dongxuan's cultivators. There are thousands of ingress Dao fruits among the rewards of the 6th heaven. Su Feng didn't need them now, but he could use them to cultivate more human Daozu. Ingress Dao fruits? Looks like you struck it rich in the Luai's original realm. Dongxian Daozu's eyes shone brightly as he unceremoniously put away the heavenly Dao fruit. Then, Su Feng transmitted his thoughts to Realm Spirit, sucking him and Dongxian Daozu from the gate of heaven into the original realm of Luai's. He entered the 6th heaven. Su Feng sensed the scenes in the lower 3 heavens and the middle 3 heavens, and his eyebrows suddenly wrinkled. He could sense that the human cultivators and mortals who had entered the Luai's original realm had discovered the spirit veins and spirit items that were born in the Luai's original realm. They began to fight over them frantically, and there were even scenes of life and death battles. Now only the Eastern Profound Divine Realm had moved to the Lightning Lake original realm. If the cultivators and mortals of the other divine realms were to be moved to the Lightning Lake original realm, wouldn't it cause a huge commotion? Su Feng immediately transmitted his divine thoughts to Dongxian Daozu. With the help of his divine thoughts, he condensed the scenes that happened in the 6th level heaven into a picture scroll for Dongxian Daozu to see. They've just escaped death, but they're already showing their true colors and killing each other. They truly deserve death. Dongxian Daozu exuded a towering, murderous aura. Master, please set the rules. Only then can we restrain the human race. However, we can't restrict the competition between the various factions. Doing so will be detrimental to the human race's future development. Master understands. Master, please take care of the Luai's original realm in the future. Are you planning to delegate power to me? I'm not someone who's greedy for power. That will only affect my cultivation. Master's ambition is the same as yours, to become the supreme immortal. Everything is just beginning. I'll have to trouble you, Master. Once everything stabilizes, we can discuss how to govern the human race. That's good. We should set some rules. After ending his conversation with Dongxian Daozu, Su Fong returned to the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Next, it was time to make arrangements for his family, friends, and many experts in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Imperial Decree. Everyone in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace had long since made preparations. They were just waiting for this day to come. This time, it wasn't as troublesome as moving the Eastern Xian Divine Realms cultivators. Su Fong directly moved everyone into the Dao Palace. Also, he wasn't in a hurry to bring them into the Luai's original realm. A space was formed in the depths of the Dao Palace. The cultivators and Big Goblin who had yet to transcend the low-level universe were all moved into the space. Su Fong's family, friends, and members of the Fong clan, as well as his subordinates from the small world of the Pansong universe, all gathered together. Whoosh! Su Fong's Imperial Heaven avatar appeared in the space. As it turned out, Su Fong planned to use the Imperial Heaven avatar to cast the Art of Divine Grace to help all the cultivators and Big Goblin who had yet to transcend beyond the low-level universe. The Imperial Heaven avatar was actually a 1,000-foot-tall rock. It was like a huge square seal. It released golden Xian Guang that enveloped everyone. Qi, Xian, Qi. The light condensed into golden runes that sank into the cultivators and Big Goblin's bodies. The Heavenly Tao's power was bestowed upon them by the Heavenly Tao. It caused all the cultivators in Big Goblin's lives, souls, and fates to undergo shocking changes. Every cultivator and every great demon was like a caterpillar that had transformed into a butterfly. Their bodies had undergone shocking changes, both inside and outside. Even their auras had undergone a reversal. This was the Imperial Heaven Avatar's supreme ability. It could not only deprive cultivators of their talents, but it could also bestow them. Clang. Of course, the Imperial Heaven Avatar couldn't be used indefinitely. It was only used on low-level universe beings, but it could easily bestow transcendence on so many cultivators and Big Goblin. If it were a higher-level cultivator or Big Goblin, Su Fong wouldn't be able to do it so easily. He might even have to consume his own dermic powers, life force, and providence. Transcendence, this is transcendence. The great monk Shangda, who drinks and eats meat all day long, can actually transcend one day. Ha! I've transcended. I become a transcendent. The Vermilion Emperor thanks Master. Master is mighty. Every cultivator and Big Goblin was shocked and overjoyed. Due to the limitations of their talents, most of the cultivators and Big Goblin that Su Fong had subdued in the 3 realms of the Pansong universe couldn't transcend low-level universes and become true deities until the end of their lives. Now that they had finally transcended, how could they not be overjoyed? Su Fong. With just one divine power, Fong could bestow tens of millions of cultivators and Big Goblin. Everyone was shocked, in awe, and, at the same time, extremely grateful. For a moment, the space was filled with thunderous cheers. Every cultivator and Big Goblin was cheering excitedly. Continue. After that, Su Fong's Imperial Heaven Avatar continued to use its ability to bestow high-grade life energy to Su Yaotian, Xian Yin Tian, Xian Lingzi, and other seniors, as well as Luo, Bai Ling, Qingyu, and other friends. Then, according to their respective great Daos, they were bestowed with different talents. In fact, the abilities that Su Fong's Imperial Heaven Avatar bestowed did not come out of nowhere. No matter how heaven-defying the Imperial Heaven Avatar was, it could not bestow talents to cultivators out of nowhere. Previously, Su Fong's Imperial Heaven Avatar had taken away the talents of countless foreign race cultivators and transferred them to his loved ones. With the talents bestowed by the Imperial Heaven Avatar, even if these loved ones and friends could not become peerless experts in the future, they would at least have a longer lifespan. Begin. When a man achieves Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. Begin. With the increase in Su Fang's strength and resources, Su Fang's loved ones, friends, and subordinates all received great opportunities. It could be said that they had reached the heavens in a single step. After doing all this, the Imperial Heaven Avatar was almost exhausted and returned to the Avatar space to recover. Tu Xiao, Yu Shui, owl-faced eccentric, come out. Su Fang sent a wisp of his consciousness to a space deep within the Tao Palace and transmitted his thoughts. The foreign race Tao saints that he had subdued and the other human Tao saints appeared in the space. Then, Su Fang's mind moved again. The 7 Daozu of the 12 races that he had subdued outside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace also came into the space. When these foreign race Daozu saw that some of their people had long since submitted to Su Fang, and some of them were even acquaintances of their own, their deep eyes flashed with a fierce light. I promised you before that I would help you all become Daozu experts. Now, I will fulfill my promise. Su Fang looked at Tu Xiao, Yu Shui, and the other Tao saints, then waved his hand and took out a dozen heavenly Tao fruits, one for each of them. This is the legendary heavenly Tao fruit. With the heavenly Tao fruit, I have a 90% chance of becoming a Daozu. Thank you, Master. I will do anything for you in the future. Su Fang said. The Tao saints under Fang all knelt down and kowtowed to Su Fang excitedly. Then, the 7 foreign race Daozu looked at the heavenly Tao fruit with envy in their eyes. How difficult was it to become a Daozu? Even if the foreign race cultivators were more talented than the human race, only 1 in 10,000 Tao saints could become a Daozu. After all, there are only so many resources. Coupled with the limitations of talent and luck, it was not easy to become a Daozu. Su Fang with the heavenly Tao fruit. The Tao saints under Fang's command had a much higher chance of becoming a Daozu, saving them countless years of cultivation. Thinking about how difficult and dangerous it was for them to become a Daozu, and how easy it would be for Tu Xiao and the other Tao saints to become a Daozu, how could these foreign race Daozu not be envious? Following which, Su Fang took out more resources and distributed them to the Tao saints. He said, when we reach the Lightning Lake original domain, open your own dojos and cultivate in seclusion. Become a Daozu as soon as possible and follow me to conquer the primal chaos. Yes, Master. Tu Xiao, and the other foreign race and human race Tao saints replied in unison. It was only now that they were completely loyal to Su Fang. Go, Su Fang said. Fang waved his hand, and the Tao saints flew into the air. Look, facing the foreign race Daozu, Su Fang said coldly, I know that you have no choice but to submit to me because you are in a life and death situation. You have always wanted to find a chance to betray me and regain your freedom. Su Fang's gaze seemed to be able to see through the thoughts of these foreign race Daozu, causing them to tremble and lower their heads. It's impossible for you to betray me. Your origin souls have been shackled by the power of my longevity lamp. Even if I die, your souls will not be destroyed. Thus, you will never be able to escape my control. Chapter 3278. Your only choice now is to work for me. You've all seen how generous I am to my subordinates. As long as you're willing to work for me, I'll also reward you handsomely. Yes, Master. The 7 Taoist saints answered in unison, clearly a little dispirited. Su Fang smiled sheepishly. You must think that I can't give you any useful resources or treasures. You're wrong. I've killed so many Daozu, including the Tensei people, the powerful Daozu of the Qianyuan clan, and even Qiantu of the Qianyuan clan's legal branch. I've obtained their resources, and I can give them all to you. He paused for a moment, then continued. Furthermore, I'm now the young master of the Luai's original realm. In the near future, I'll be the master of the Luai's original realm. When that time comes, I'll give you all sorts of treasures that even immortal realm experts will be jealous of. The 7 Daozu's dispirited look was swept away, and their eyes were filled with vigor. I, Su Fang, will reach the peak of the great Tao sooner or later and become an immortal realm expert. As long as you're loyal to me, I promise that I'll give you a chance to become an immortal realm expert. Su Fang's voice filled the 7 Daozu with vigor, and they all knelt down in front of him. The 7 Daozu had all reached the peak of the Daozu, and power and fame were no longer attractive to them. However, becoming an immortal realm expert was a fatal temptation to them. Who could resist? Only if they wanted to become an immortal realm expert, they wouldn't hesitate to kill their loved ones, let alone be loyal to Su Fang. Look, Su Fang smiled in his heart when he saw the expressions of these Daozu. He knew that from this moment on, he had 7 more powerful Daozu experts under his command. In the past, Su Fang wasn't strong enough. Even if he could capture some of the Daozu, he couldn't control them or raise them. Now that Su Fang had both strength and resources, he had no qualms about collecting as many as he could. They entered the Luai's original realm. Su Fang brought everyone to the 6th level of heaven. Su Fang, Xianyin Tian, and the rest of his family members. Su Fang personally used his supreme mystique to open up a dojo and cave abode for them to live and cultivate. His subordinates were also looking for suitable places to set up dojos and cave abodes. Su Fang found a large number of divine trees, divine flowers, and medicinal herb from the Luai's original realm. After settling everyone in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, Su Fang felt much more at ease. With the help of Realm Spirit, Fang moved countless cultivators and mortals from the various divine realms and low-level universes to the Luai's original realm. They settled in the lower 3 heavens and middle 3 heavens of the Luai's original realm. With the Dongxian Daozu and other Daozu experts in charge, everything seemed to be in order. Clang. However, conflicts over benefits still occurred from time to time. It was impossible to put an end to it. Fang didn't stop it. As long as it was controlled to a certain extent, it would be beneficial to the future development of the human race. The mystic realms and low-level universes of the Jioshuan divine realm were almost completely emptied. And even many monsters and other races in the human world were moved to the Luai's original realm. No, many people, including some Daozu experts, chose to stay in the human world. Most of them were cultivators from the Qitian and Hong Tian divine realms. Su Fang's killing of the Qitian and Hong Daozu had left a deep grudge in their hearts. Even though they knew that the 2 Daozu experts had brought it upon themselves, they still couldn't let it go. Of course, they didn't stay in the human world because they had a backbone. They also hoped that the calamity wouldn't come again. There were also many low-level cultivators and mortals who didn't know what kind of calamity was about to befall the human race. As for the Daozu humans who didn't want to move to the Luai's original realm, it was because they'd fled at the last minute during the battle at Imperial Divine Palace. They were afraid that they'd be slaughtered by Su Fang if they moved to the Luai's original realm. In their view, the so-called calamity of the human race was actually directed at Su Fang. Once Su Fang left the human world, the calamity would naturally disappear. Outside, they weren't willing to give up the power they already had. In the human world, they were the high and mighty Daozu, the apex experts and sovereigns. Once they moved to the Luai's original realm, even if Su Fang didn't pursue them, how could they possibly be in charge of the Luai's original realm? As sovereigns, there was no way the Daozu would allow someone else to rule over them. Not only did the human Daozu stay, but their subordinates, as well as countless cultivators and mortals, also stayed behind. Once the other divine realms factions left, the Daozu experts entered the dojos left behind by the other divine realms and began to pillage. Lei Luai's original realm. Su Fang, Dongxian Daozu, Tian Su, Dark Mother Daozu, and the other human Daozu gathered together. After a long discussion, they finally came up with a rule that the human race would abide by. It was a heavenly law that was similar to the heavenly Tao. After the heavenly law was set, Su Fang used the will of the Luai's original realm to integrate the heavenly law into it. It would become a rule that both the human and demon race would abide by. The Luai's original realm was extremely vast, far larger than the human world. Its spirit energy and world aura were also far greater than the human world. It was enough for the human race and some demon races to thrive. Su Fong also took out the resources he obtained from the sixth layer of heaven, mainly the ancient books and jade slips passed down by the Reizega people, as well as the techniques, supernatural powers, and various alchemy and treasure refining skills he obtained from the memories of the foreign Daozu. He imparted all of them to the human race. The foreign Daozu under Su Fong also opened dojos to teach the human cultivators. The human race's forces began to develop at an unprecedented rate. As time passed, more Daozu and Dao saints would be born. However, it was impossible for the Luai's original realm to produce immortal experts. Bai Su Fong had only taken control of the lower and middle three heavens. Even the Daozu experts found it difficult to improve in the sixth layer of heaven, let alone break through to the immortal realm. Also, only after Su Fong passed the test of the upper three heavens could the Daozu experts enter. Only then could an immortal expert be born. Xiang the Luai's original realm was handed over to the human Daozu, Dongxian Daozu, to manage. Su Fong entered the divine origin pool to cultivate. Tongshi also separated his thoughts and used the Luai's original realm's power to secretly observe the Western Mystery Mountains movements. Boom, boom. More than 80 foreign Daozu experts took turns attacking the Western Mystery Mountains seal. The 10 Directions God Master evil corpses also attacked from the inside, causing the seal to shatter layer by layer. However, it was still difficult to break through. The Western Mystery Daozu had merged himself with the primordial heavenly treasure heaven prison cage. In addition to the powerful seal of Su Fong's Qi Tian body, the Daozu experts found it difficult to break through. This had nothing to do with the number of people. Almost 500 years have passed. It's impossible that Su Fong didn't notice the Western Mystery Mountains movements. Why hasn't he appeared yet? Zhou Nuo was no longer as crazy as before. He was constantly worried about Su Fong's appearance. At the same time, he was also constantly worried about when the Luai's original realms would kill him. Here Zhou Nuo had completely lost his former demeanor. He was like a ferocious beast in a desperate situation. Now that things have come to this, I can only stake it all on this one throw. Zhou Nuo gritted his teeth and issued an order to the 5 Daozu experts of the Tensei people. Don't hesitate to burn your thoughts and cultivation to use the great Tao of time to exhaust the seal's power. We must break the seal before Su Fong arrives. Zhou Nuo had brought more than a dozen Daozu Tensei people with him to the human world this time. In the battle at the Qi Tian Divine Palace, even Zhou Huan had been killed by the Thunder God War Puppet. Now, only the 5 Daozu experts were left. In order to kill Su Fong, Zhou Nuo didn't care about anything else. He even ordered these Tensei people experts to burn themselves to destroy the seal. Boom, boom. The 5 Daozu Tensei people joined forces and unleashed a powerful great Tao of time to exhaust the seal. About 10 years later, a gap finally appeared in the seal. Qi, the evil aura of the 10 Directions Divine Lord evil corpses, and the remnant aura of the Western Mystery Daozu that had merged with the primordial heavenly treasure heaven prison soared into the sky from within the Western Mystery Mountain. It forced Zhou Nuo and the other Daozu experts to retreat. I'm about to come out. Xixian Daozu, Su Fong, let's see how you're going to seal me. The human race. I'm going to exterminate the human race. Ha ha ha. 10. God Lord Fong's sinister laughter surged out of the shattered seal. Zhou Nuo was pleasantly surprised. Sensing the evil and vast aura of the 10 Directions Divine Lord, it had completely surpassed the limits of the Daozu. It caused the divine light of all the foreign race Daozu to change instantly. 10 Directions Divine Lord, Su Fong. That aura, why is it so familiar? The middle-aged foreign race Daozu called Yao Ming trembled. His eyes were fixed on the Western Mystery Mountain. The remnant aura of Dao ancestor Xixian stirred up the karma in Xiao Chen's mind. Some dusty memories appeared in his mind. I see. I am the 8th reincarnation of the Western Mystery Daozu. As the dusty memories of his previous life were unraveled, Yao Ming Daozu instantly understood everything. He wasn't Yao Ming Daozu. He was the reincarnation of the Western mystery Daozu, the 8th reincarnation. In my previous life, I didn't hesitate to sacrifice myself to seal the 10 directions, Divine Lord. Although I'm not a human in this life, how can I watch the 10 directions, Divine Lord, evil corpses break out of the seal and destroy the human race? The 8th reincarnation of the Western mystery Daozu understood the cause and effect. He no longer hesitated and charged toward the 5 Tensei, people Daozu. Right at this moment, Void only had a pair of eyes. It was watching the scene outside the Western Mystery Mountain without blinking. Right? It's Su Fong. Chapter 3279. Master, looking at Shi Xian Daozu charging towards the experts of the Tensei people, Su Fong sighed heavily. In reality, he had already deduced that Shi Xian Daozu's reincarnation was among the alien Daozu that Zhou Nuo had recruited. At this moment, he could faintly sense Shi Xian Daozu's aura from the fate of the alien race expert, called Yao Ming Daozu. Above this time, Terror Ancestor tried to break the seal of Shixian Mountain, but was killed by Su Fong. Shixian Daozu's soul was taken away by Terror Ancestor Luan Zhuan, Origin Ancestor. Think can't. This time, Shixian Daozu's reincarnation came to Shixian Mountain again. It was as though the heavens had arranged all of this. Shixian Daozu's reincarnation had clearly recovered the memories of his past life. This reincarnation strength was truly shocking. However, when he attacked the Tensei people Daozu, it was like a moth flying into a flame. This meant he would repeat the same mistake as last time. Su Fong, however, could not lend a helping hand. He could only watch helplessly. Shixian Daozu used the 9 reincarnations to attack the Undying Realm. If someone interfered, it would affect his 9 reincarnations and his ascension to the Undying Realm. Thus, Su Fong could not help. He could not even help. What made Su Fong afraid was that he sensed an extremely dangerous aura from Shixian Daozu's aura of fate. As long as he had karma with Shixian Daozu, it would trigger terrifying consequences that even Su Fong could not predict. Until therefore, Su Fongtian's Dharma body could not deduce anything. By this showed that the danger definitely came from the Undying Realm, and most likely Luan Zhuan, Origin Ancestor. Now the only thing Su Fong could do was to watch Shixian Daozu fly into a flame like a moth. It's because I'm not strong enough. I can't save Master, and I can't help him at all. Fong once again watched helplessly as his loved one rushed towards death, and a sense of helplessness arose in his heart. It was also fortunate that his Dao heart had reached the level of great indifference. Although it was painful, it was unable to shake his will and affect his rationality. Westian Daozu's reincarnation suddenly charged towards the Tensei people. Daozu's sudden attack caught all the foreign experts off guard. Boom! The 5 Tensei people Daozu were also caught off guard and were restrained by an invisible sky wheel released by Shixian Daozu's 8th life body. The heavenly wheel erupted from the way of the heavens, from the way of the heavens to the way of the universe, and from the way of the universe to the way of the universe. The 5 Tensei people Daozu fell into a state of serious injury at the same time. Yao Ming Daozu, you're courting death. Nuo was shocked and angry. He gave a thunderous roar towards Shixian Daozu's 8th body. You! First! A black Xian Guang shot out. It turned out to be the expert from the Yemo race. A spiral of mystic light shot out from the black horn on his head. It was like a high-speed rotating drill bit as it approached Yi Shiwen. The black Xian Guang tore through everything, and at the same time pierced the head of Shixian Daozu's 8th life body. An illusory soul shadow appeared from Shixian Daozu's 8th life body and was killed by the soul attacks of the other foreign Daozu that reacted. Shixian Daozu's 8th life body died like this. So when he saw this scene from the void, he sighed in his heart. Grief and indignation surged in his eyes before it turned into a cold, murderous intent. That was it. When the soul of Shixian Daozu's 8th life body shattered, an illusory spirit light that could not be seen flashed from the shattered soul and was about to disappear into the ethereal way of the heavens. That was it. This was Shi Xian Daozu's life source spirit, usually called the true spirit. The so-called reincarnation of soul was actually this wisp of true spirit entering the way of the heavens to reincarnate. If the true spirit was destroyed, it would completely lose the chance to reincarnate and was equivalent to being completely killed. This seat will make you completely disappear and unable to enter the way of reincarnation. The severely injured Daozu of the Tensei people gritted his teeth and shouted. He unleashed the power of time and was about to kill Shi Xian Daozu's last remaining true spirit. Seeing this, killing intent flashed through Su Fang's mind. He was about to escape from the Thunder Pond original realm. Oh my God! Ji, the realm spirit, suddenly sent him a message. Your Highness Su Fang, please wait. Su Fang stilled. At this moment, Xiao suddenly flashed from Shi Xian Daozu's true spirit and triggered the way of reincarnation. An illusory river of reincarnation immediately appeared around the true spirit. Then, the river of reincarnation surged and dragged Shi Xian Daozu's true spirit and the Tensei people Daozu into the river of reincarnation and then disappeared without a trace. Su Fang was shocked and shocked. That is, the will left behind by Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor? Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor, left a will in Master's soul. Is it to protect Master so that he can reincarnate smoothly? The realm spirit said faintly, I'm afraid it is not as simple as you think. Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor, has mastered the truth of the way of reincarnation and is a vengeful person. He left a will imprint in your Master's true spirit, not only to protect him, but also to shackle him. Also, I'm afraid there is another purpose. It is most likely targeted at you. Targeted at me? Previously, you killed Terror Ancestor, a subordinate of Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor. He captured your Master's soul. On one hand, he wanted to cultivate an undying subordinate. On the other hand, he wanted to use your Master's soul as bait to kill you. You are the inheritor of the Luai's original realm. According to the eternal heaven law, an undying Master cannot take the initiative to attack you. Otherwise, he will be punished by the heaven law. However, how can Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor, let this go? If you save your Master, you will be connected with your Master's reincarnation. Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor, can find an opportunity to lure you into a trap step by step. He will find ways to avoid the punishment of the heaven law and finally kill you with the help of the way of heaven reincarnation. The realm spirit's words made Su Fang feel a lingering fear. What a sinister and despicable Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor. He actually used such a despicable method to deal with me, a Daozu cultivator. Obviously, it was not a coincidence that Shi Xian Daozu reincarnated into the human world. It was secretly manipulated by Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor. If he really fell into the trap set by Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor, with Su Fang's current strength, facing an undying Master like Luan Zhuan, Holy Lord, he was still doomed. Jialing snorted. Those undying Masters are like the existence of the way of heaven. They are also as ruthless as the way of heaven. In order to achieve their goal, why would they care about the means? I'm still not strong enough. Otherwise, how could I watch my Master's reincarnation be killed? Otherwise, why would the human race have to leave their homeland and migrate to the Luai's original realm? Su Fang sighed helplessly. That's because you are not an undying Master yet. Realm Spirit said embarrassedly. You have to solve the matter of the human world as soon as possible, and then start to break through the seventh heaven and walk the eternal heaven road. As long as you are listed in the eternal temple, even the undying Masters will have to be wary of you. Eternal heaven road, eternal temple, Su Fang muttered. Fang muttered to himself, and his eyes became firm and certain. Jialing continued. Your Master soul has obviously been shackled by Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor's reincarnation. Even if he can become an undying Master in the future, I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to escape from the hands of Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor. It will be very difficult for you to save your Master. Su Fang said firmly, everything is possible. Since I embarked on the path of cultivation, I have encountered countless difficulties and dangers. I swear that I will save my master. Nothing can stop me, Su Fong, not even Luan Zhuan, origin ancestor. Just as Su Fong was communicating with Realm Spirit, Jinhua organized many Daozu of foreign races to attack the seal with all their strength. Jinhua also attacked personally. He did not hesitate to burn his thoughts to activate the Jade Scepter and burst out the eternal power of time, making the attacks of many Daozu masters more powerful. Ten Divine Lord Fong also crazily attacked inside the seal, causing the seal to break faster. She continued to attack for 30 years. Boom! The seal finally began to collapse, and the Xixian mountain also began to collapse. Only bloody light, filled with a terrifying aura of death and hostility, rushed into the sky, as if they were in a huge tomb. Die! The will of death and the aura of death enveloped the area. Zhou Nuo and the foreign Daozu felt as if they had been plunged into a world of death. Thoughts of death surged in their hearts, shaking their wills and affecting their consciousness. A youth in blood-red robes appeared from the bloody light. His face was pale, and he looked to be only 18 years old. He looked like a very ordinary human cultivator. However, beneath that ordinary appearance was an incomparably evil aura. The souls of all the foreign experts trembled as their wills were suppressed. Ten Divine Lord Fong's evil corpse finally broke through the seal and saw the light of day once more. Xixian Daozu, even if you sacrifice yourself, how long can you seal me? The day I break through my shackles will be the day the human race is destroyed. I will exterminate the human race completely and use countless human lives to prove my supreme, immortal great Tao. Divine Lord Fong let out a long howl, his voice filled with boundless evil. The entire Xixian divine realm trembled. The foreign Daozu were also trembling. Under the will of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions, they had no choice but to kneel. Zhou Nuo borrowed the divine might of the primordial heavenly treasure to barely maintain his will. He knelt toward the Divine Lord of Ten Directions and said, Zhou Nuo of the Tensei people greets the Divine Lord of Ten Directions. Greetings, Divine Lord of Ten Directions. The other foreign Daozu had no choice but to submit to the will of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions. This was the difference between an immortal and a Daozu. In the face of an immortal, cultivators at the Daozu's level didn't have the courage to resist. Junior of the Tensei people, were you the one who helped me break through my seal? Tell me, how should I repay you? The Divine Lord of Ten Directions withdrew his divine might and looked down at Zhou Nuo. Everyone. Only then did the foreign race experts feel relieved, and they stood up one after another. Zhou Nuo cupped his fists and respectfully said to the Divine Lord of Ten Directions, This one does not ask for anything in return. I only ask that you kill Su Fong. That will be the greatest repayment to this one. Su Fong? The corners of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions' lips curled up into a cruel smile. Su Fong ruined my plans. Even if you didn't mention it, Su Fong is someone I must kill. Zhou Nuo's eyes shone with excitement. 10. Chapter 3280. Zhou Nuo said straightforwardly, Lord God, Lord of Ten Directions, there is no need to be so polite. As long as this one is able to do so, I will definitely do my best to help Lord. Then this one will thank you in advance. God Lord Fong suddenly revealed an evil smile. Blood-red light shot out of God Lord of Ten Directions' eyes, instantly transforming into 9 blood tombs that trapped the 9 Daozu experts that Zhou Nuo had recruited. Then, the 9 Daozu experts were unable to resist at all. They were quickly engulfed by the blood tombs, and not even their bones were left. In the end, they turned into 9 beams of blood-red light that drilled into the glabella of God Lord of Ten Directions' evil corpse. My lord, what is the meaning of this? Zhou Nuo did not expect God Lord of Ten Directions to suddenly attack, and he was both shocked and stunned. The other Daozu experts also did not expect God Lord of Ten Directions to be so temperamental. They were all scared out of their wits. This one has been shackled for so many years, and breaking the seal has consumed a lot of my energy. I need to recover, and I also need some puppets. Junior Tensei people, since you want to help this one, you might as well help me to the end. God Lord of 10 Directions smiled coldly. Then blood-red light shot out of his eyes again. 9 more blood tombs appeared, trapping the 9 Daozu experts within. The other Daozu experts were all frightened out of their wits. However, under the pressure of God Lord of 10 Directions' evil corpse, even space-time was sealed. None of them could escape. 10 Directions God Lord Fong attacked 4 times in a row. He only stopped when 36 Daozu experts were engulfed. The remaining 40-odd Daozu experts were like prisoners on death row who had just been pardoned. They felt as if they had just taken a trip back from the brink of death. These mighty Daozu experts were so scared that their bodies were drenched in sweat. Only Zhou Nuo and the remaining 4 Tensei people experts were faring slightly better. No matter how evil and arrogant God Lord of 10 Directions was, he did not dare to offend the Tensei people. Next, it is time to exterminate the human race. First, I need to find Su Fong. God Lord 10 Directions no longer paid any attention to these foreign experts and sent out his sensory energy. Although the Divine Lord of 10 Directions hadn't truly reached the immortal level, he had unparalleled strength that was no weaker than an immortal level expert. By fusing his sensing power with the heavenly Tao, he could instantly envelop the Jiuquan God domain within his sensing range. The result surprised God Lord 10 Directions. Zhou Nuo paid attention to God Lord of 10 Directions' expression and asked in surprise, "Could it be that your excellency can't find Su Fong? He must have escaped into the Thunder Lake original realm. That's why you can't sense his presence." Luai's original realm? Su Fong actually obtained the Luai's original realm? The Divine Lord of 10 Directions was startled, but soon after, his eyes burned with evil flames. That good corpse truly deserves to die. He actually gave the Thunder Lake original realm to Su Fong. Su Fong only passed the first 5 trials. He didn't truly obtain the Luai's origin realm, Zhou Nuo hurriedly explained. He still didn't know that Su Fong had already completed the 6th Heavens test and had become the young lord of the Luai's original realm. 10 Directions God, Lord 10 Directions snorted. That Su Fong only has his current achievements because he obtained my inheritance. Do you think he can surpass me? Back then, even when my 3 corpses were still alive, I didn't dare to rashly enter the Luai's original realm to take the test. Yet, he tried in vain to obtain the Luai's original realm. Sooner or later, only death awaits him. Nuo's body trembled. He had failed the Luai's original realm's 5th Heavens test, which meant that he would be obliterated by the Luai's original realm's consciousness. How could he not be afraid? Suddenly, God Lord of 10 Directions raised an eyebrow and continued, "Humph. Not only can I not sense Su Fong's presence, but most of the humans in the Jiuquan Divine Realm have also disappeared, save for a few cultivators, mortals, and a few big goblin. Could it be that Su Fong transferred them all to the Luai's original realm?" Nuo said with certainty, "That's impossible. The Luai's original realm's test is extremely difficult. Su Fong couldn't have passed the 6th Heavens test in such a short time, nor could he have transferred all of the humans to the Luai's original realm. It's highly likely that he brought the humans to another space-time in the primal chaos. No matter where they go, they won't be able to escape from my grasp. Wait until I capture those Daozu cultivators in the human world and search their souls. It won't be difficult to find out the whereabouts of the humans." God Lord of 10 Directions' expression turned gloomy after he finished his deduction. He let out a cold and embarrassed voice. Then, his figure flashed, and he directly flew into the sky. Huff, the foreign race experts who were lucky enough to survive, all heaved a long sigh of relief. Too terrifying. Too terrifying. In front of God Lord of 10 Directions, these Daozu experts were like weak chickens. They could only wait to be slaughtered. They had completely lost their will and courage to resist. Young King Zhou Nuo, this trip to the human world was indeed dangerous. However, it was still as you wished. Don't go back on your promise, the Daiomo Daozu said worriedly. Swoosh! 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 All the foreign race Daozu recruited looked at Zhou Nuo. They had been scared out of their wits just now. They only hoped to quickly obtain the benefits and leave the human world. Zhou Nuo smiled embarrassedly and said with certainty, "Don't worry. I won't shortchange you of the benefits I promised you." However, a thunderous sound suddenly resounded in the sky. Tight! Lightning surged and quickly condensed into a heavenly gate. A figure stepped on the lightning and walked out of the heavenly gate. Su Fang. Zhou Nuo was surprised at first. Then, he clenched his teeth. The more than 40 Daozu experts also became nervous. All of them were trembling. However, on second thought, the God Lord of 10 Directions had already broken free from his shackles. As long as he sensed Su Fang's existence, he could rush over in an instant. Therefore, although these Daozu experts were not strong enough to fight against Su Fang, they could at least delay him for a while. However, Su Fang couldn't even protect himself by the time the God Lord of 10 Directions arrived. How could he care about them? With this thought, their courage was bolstered. Zhou Nuo was also fearless. He looked at Su Fang and smirked. "Su Fang, you never imagined that I would help the God Lord of 10 Directions break out of his seal, did you?" Su Fang looked down at the foreign race cultivators as if he was looking at a group of ants about to die. Then, he said indifferently to Zhou Nuo, "So what if the God Lord of 10 Directions breaks out of his seal? The God Lord of 10 Directions will kill you and all the humans. So what if you beat me in the Thunder Lake Original Realms 5th Heaven Trial? Let's see who will have the last laugh." Zhou Nuo laughed in delight. Su Fang smiled casually. "Is that so? But the one who will have the last laugh will definitely not be you." Zhou Nuo chuckled and mocked. "Su Fang, you're still so arrogant even now. I really don't know where your confidence comes from." "Zhou Nuo, you've been attacking the Western Mystery Mountain for so many years. With my strength, I should have sensed it a long time ago, but I never stopped you. Do you know why?" Su Fang looked at Zhou Nuo as if he was looking at someone who was about to die. His eyes were filled with disdain, sympathy, and endless mockery. Zhou Nuo snorted. "Why?" Su Fang said indifferently. "The reason is very simple. I want to borrow your hand to release the God Lord of 10 Directions from his seal. I don't need to do it myself and waste my energy." The smile on Zhou Nuo's face froze. Then, he laughed involuntarily. "If the God Lord of 10 Directions breaks out of his seal, it means that you and the human race will face a calamity of destruction. Now, you're saying that you want the God Lord of 10 Directions to come out. Isn't this extremely laughable? That was then and this is now. In the past, I was indeed afraid that the God Lord of 10 Directions would break out of his seal and bring disaster to the human race. As for now, the human race has been moved to the Thunder Lake Original Realm by me. I no longer have any worries. I also want the God Lord of 10 Directions to come out and fight him to the death. I want to use him to test my strength." Zhou Nuo cried out involuntarily. "Impossible! How did you pass the Thunder Lake Original Realms 6th Heavens test in such a short time? To me, Su Fang, nothing is impossible. I killed hundreds of millions of cultivators from the 12 races and countless experts from the Heaven Origin race. I used the blood of hundreds of millions of cultivators to dye the Supreme Battle Flag red. I passed the 6th Heavens test. Now, I am the Thunder Lake Original Realms young master." Su Fang revealed a domineering smile. He waved his hand and a battle flag appeared. It floated in the air and released an astonishing aura of war and slaughter. It formed a battlefield of slaughter and shackled Zhou Nuo and all the experts of the other races. Zhou Nuo felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His body swayed and he staggered. His face instantly turned pale. However, he was unwilling to give up. "Since you passed the 6th Heavens test, Realm Spirit should have already killed me. Why am I still alive? If you die, the Tensei people will personally come to the human world. That is not a situation I want. It is precisely because you're still useful that I asked Realm Spirit not to kill you for the time being. Besides, watching you jump around like a clown, isn't it very interesting?" "A clown?" Zhou Nuo's body trembled. What else could he be if he was not a clown? He thought. He couldn't. He never thought that he would be played like a monkey by Su Fong. Su Fong continued, Zhou Nuo, apart from the fact that you're from the Eternal Clan, you have status, you have a backer, and you have a bit of talent, but in my eyes, you're nothing. I've never treated you as an opponent because you're not worthy. The meaning of your existence is to be a stepping stone for me. I will step on you to help me reach the peak of the great Tao. Su Fong. Zhou Nuo let out a roar of grief and indignation. Then there was the sound of something shattering in the void where his heart was. It was his Tao heart. After suffering such a heavy blow, it could no longer bear it. At this moment, his will collapsed, and his Tao heart also shattered. Now that you have no value, it is time for you to die. Lord Realm Spirit, kill him. Su Fong said coldly. Pooh! Zhou Nuo's physical body, Tao Palace, and his soul origin began to shatter layer by layer. From a moment, he entered the Luai's original realm and accepted the Luai's original realms test. The Luai's original realms will have planted an imprint in his body and in his fate. Test. The result of failing the test was death. Even immortal experts could not save him. No. Chapter 3281. Kill our way out. The alien Daozu knew that they had no choice but to fight with their lives on the line. They unleashed their strongest abilities and activated their most powerful Xianbao. They even burned everything they had in an attempt to break free from the Sovereign Warbanner shackles. Only the four Tensei people below ignored their injuries and began to burn themselves as they charged towards Su Fong. What's the point of fighting like cornered beasts? Suppress them all. Su Fong's murderous intent enveloped all the alien Daozu with the divine might of the Sovereign Warbanner and attacked their Tao hearts and wills. From countless wills rushed out from the supreme battle flag, and the tragic cries of killing filled the entire battlefield. The Tao hearts of the alien Daozu were shaken, and their wills began to crumble. The four Tensei people Daozu who were charging towards Su Fong trembled under the impact of Su Fong's will and found it difficult to even protect themselves, let alone kill Su Fong. Clang! Back at the Imperial Divine Palace, when these alien Daozu had fled with Zhou Nuo, when Su Fong had appeared, some of them were still unconvinced and thought that with so many Daozu present, they might be able to fight Su Fong and even kill him. Straight. Only now did they realize how laughable their previous thoughts were. In front of Su Fong, they had no way of resisting. It was no different from when they had faced the evil corpse of the 10 Directions Divine Lord. Whoosh! The life lantern appeared on the battlefield. Life lantern! One of the alien Daozu cried out in despair. Su Fong Dao, please spare our lives. Another alien Daozu cried out and begged Su Fong for mercy. Apart from the four Tensei people Daozu, the other alien Daozu had all been recruited by Zhou Nuo. Now that Zhou Nuo was dead, they wouldn't even be able to keep their lives, let alone obtain any benefits. Naturally, they weren't willing to continue fighting and begged Su Fong. Also, only Daozu and the other 5 Daozu pinnacle powerhouses of the Xianma clan were still fighting with all their might. Pa. Chong the longevity lamp flickered 4 times in a row, and the souls of the 4 Tensei people, Daozu, were immediately separated from their bodies and refined into lamp oil. Forget it. I'm also willing to accept the shackles and submit. The Daozu of the Xianma race had no choice but to give up resisting. The other 5 Daozu pinnacle beings had no choice but to give up as well. Submit? Su Fong's gaze was like lightning as it swept across the Daozu powerhouse of the Xianma clan. Afterwards, he let out a voice as cold and emotionless as the way of the heavens. I can spare the lives of others, but I can't spare you. The strong warrior of the Mo clan was surprised and shouted angrily, Why? Su Fong said indifferently, If I want you to die, why should I give you a reason? The strong warrior of the Xianma clan had dealt a fatal blow to the Xixian Daozu. How could Su Fong let him go? However, with Su Fong's current strength, was there a need for him to explain anything? The flame of the longevity lamp flickered, and a flame swept up the Daozu of the Xianma clan with a whoosh. It started to strip his soul origin. The Daozu of the Yema clan was still unwilling to give up, and he threatened Su Fong loudly. Su Fong, my teacher is an immortal of the Yema clan. If you kill me, you will be hunted down by immortal powerhouses. Su Fong, why would Fong care about his threat? Chong the longevity lamp's power stripped the soul of the strong warrior of the Yema clan and sent it flying toward the longevity lamp. Pa! The flame of the longevity lamp flickered and swept up the soul. It burned with a sizzling sound, and it quickly turned into pure soul energy. Chong, the more than 40 strong warriors of the other clans, trembled with fear when they saw what had happened to the Daozu of the Yema clan. At that moment, in the hearts of these strong warriors of the other clans, Su Fong was the same as the 10 Directions Godmaster. They were both temperamental and evil beings. Since you want to submit, why don't you kneel down, open your soul, and accept my shackles? Su Fong was like the embodiment of the heavenly Tao, and he could decide the life and death of all living beings. 1. A total of 42 Daozu of the other clans scrambled to kneel down before Su Fong. Su Fong stripped the soul energy of the longevity lamp, condensed it into a seal seed, and directly injected it into the souls of the strong warriors of the other clans. Just like that, Su Fong subdued another 42 strong warriors of the Daozu clan. Although most of these Daozu of the other clans were not as strong as the 7 Daozu of the 12 clans that Su Fong had subdued, they were still extraordinary and surpassed most human Daozu. Now that they had all become Su Fong's slaves, Su Fong's overall strength, and even the strength of the entire human race, had greatly increased yet again. He absorbed all 40 Daozu of the other clans into the Dao Palace, then moved them into the internal space of the Xianwang avatar. 1. The reason he had placed these Daozu of the other clans inside the Xianwang avatar was because Su Fong was about to face an unprecedented battle. Su Fong looked into the distance, his eyes surging with a strong desire to fight. He was planning to directly challenge the evil corpse of the 10 Directions Godmaster and completely settle all his karma and grudges. East Yishuantian Pavilion. East. The Xian Daozu had led all the cultivators of Xiantian Pavilion, as well as most of the cultivators and mortals of the Eastern Xian Divine Domain, to the Luai's original realm. The Eastern Xiantian Pavilion was empty, but there were still many cultivators inside. 1. Cultivators from all over occupied the various dojos on the various planets, and a foul atmosphere filled the air. Inside the cave abode where the Dongxian Daozu had once cultivated, 3 human Daozu were drinking and chatting at the peak of a mountain. 1. The 3 human Daozu were unwilling to go to the Luai's original realm, but they had gathered all the remaining cultivators in the human world and occupied the Eastern Xiantian Pavilion. There's a saying among mortals that it's better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. If we go to the Luai's original realm, we'll have to give in to Su Fong's whims, and we might even lose our lives. How can we compare to staying in the human world and being the sovereign of the human race? An old man with a goatee stroked his beard and laughed proudly. He opened his mouth and drank the fine wine in the cup in front of him. A red-haired old man snorted. That Su Fong is clearly ambitious. He wants to become the sovereign of the human race. So he's using the Divine Lord of 10 Directions and the other races to scare the human cultivators and move them all to the Luai's original realm. What's laughable is that those Daozu experts actually believed him without a doubt. Even the Dongxian Daozu and Tian Su of the Destiny platform were fooled. Once we reach the Luai's original realm, we'll all become slaves under Su Fong's control. Outside, a middle-aged man with a square face sighed gravely. The 2 of you shouldn't be careless. If the Divine Lord of 10 Directions breaks the seal and the other races come back, we'll be doomed. I think it'd be better for us to escape into the depths of the primal chaos as soon as possible and find a powerful race to rely on. The old man with a goatee snorted disdainfully. You're a little too cowardly. That Divine Lord of 10 Directions lured the other races to attack the human world because he wanted to take revenge for being hunted down by the upper echelons of the human race. We didn't participate in the pursuit of the divine Lord of 10 Directions back then. Even if he breaks the seal of the Western Mystery Mountain, he can't do anything to us. The red-haired old man also laughed. As for the Tensei people, the Qinyuan race, and the other 12 races, they're all disasters that Su Fong has brought to the human race. They want to take revenge on Su Fong. What does that have to do with us? The middle-aged man with a martial face finally relaxed. He grabbed his wine cup and laughed heartily. Come, let's drink to this. Whoosh! A blood-red light filled with a deathly aura penetrated through the layers of barriers and descended into the cavern, enveloping the 3 human Daozu within. Not only the 3 human Daozu, but the blood-red light also covered the entire interior of Heaven Pavilion, turning it into a tomb that buried everything. In the eastern profound Heaven Pavilion, all the cultivators were shackled. Their lives and souls began to disappear in the blood-red light. They didn't even have time to scream before they quickly turned into white bones. Very quickly, the white bones also began to decay and eventually turn into ashes. These cultivators could have migrated to the Thunder Lock original realm. Not only would they have been able to preserve their lives, but their future cultivation achievements would also have reached a higher level in the Thunder Lock original realm. However, because of their own stupidity, all of them had died here. The 3 human Tao Fathers couldn't escape the same fate. Trapped in the blood-red light, their hearts were filled with despair and endless regret. It was better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. This saying was indeed true. Only unfortunately, in the end, not only did they not become the head of chicken, they didn't even have a single feather left. It's the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. He actually broke through the seal of the Western Profound Mountain. Divine Lord of 10 Directions, we didn't chase after you back then. The culprits were the Dongxian Daozu, Tian Su, and the others. Please let us go. The 3 Daozu trembled as they begged for mercy, begging the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. This Divine Lord of 10 Directions wants to exterminate the human race without leaving a single one behind so that I can reach the peak of the Great Tao. Do you think this Divine Lord of 10 Directions will let you go? The Divine Lord of 10 Directions' voice was filled with the aura of death as it reverberated through the mountain peak. The 3 Daozu experts were in complete despair. Unexpectedly, the Divine Lord of 10 Directions suddenly changed the topic and asked, however, this Divine Lord will give you a glimmer of hope. The 3 Daozu of the human race immediately became spirited and asked in unison, please enlighten us, Divine Lord. Where did Su Fong, those human Daozu experts, and so many other human cultivators escape to? The Divine Lord of 10 Directions asked indifferently. Divine Lord, Su Fong obtained the inheritance of the Thunder Lock original realm and became the young lord of the Thunder Lock original realm. He moved all the humans to the Thunder Lock original realm. We didn't want to be controlled by Su Fong, so we stayed in the human world. It seems like this Divine Lord of 10 Directions was not wrong. Who would have thought that Su Fong really obtained the inheritance of the Thunder Lock original realm? That insignificant ant-like cultivator from back then has now become a major figure. Amazing, truly amazing. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions sighed faintly. Then he said to the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, this Divine Lord will not kill you. Instead, I will bestow upon you a great fortune, allowing you to possess strength beyond your imagination. Many thanks, Divine Lord of 10 Directions. The 3 Daozu heaved a sigh of relief. As long as they could survive this time, they were willing to become the Divine Lord of 10 Directions slaves. Who knew reality was much crueler than they had imagined? Chi, chi, chi. After 10 breaths, the 3 Daozu turned into 3 men on fire, their bodies burning with chi. Chi. Chapter 3282. Letting you all become the guardians of my heavenly tomb is also a supreme fortune for you all. As the God Lord of 10 Directions, evil laughter echoed. A blood-red light swept the 3 Daozu away from the cave abode. Heaven outside the pavilion. 10 God Lord Fong's evil corpse stood with his hands behind his back. Look, In the void, the God Lord of 10 Directions' blood-red eyes seemed to be able to see through some shackles and see the ethereal heavenly Tao. Su Fong, it's you who spoil my plans again. If I don't exterminate the human race, I won't be able to prove my Tao and become a true immortal. Now, you've moved all the humans to the Thunder Lake original realm, making my Tao hopeless. How can I forgive you? I don't believe that you can stay in the Thunder Lake original realm forever. Tin God Lord Fong muttered to himself coldly. Whoosh! Tin! God Lord Fong looked up at the sky, disbelief in his eyes. Tight! Then a voice echoed in the void. God Lord of 10 Directions, I'll be waiting for you outside the chaos. Do you dare to fight me? Impossible. Impossible. He never would have thought. Just now, he was just thinking about how to capture Su Fong, enter the Thunder Lake original realm, and then kill all the humans to prove his Tao. Now, Su Fong actually challenged the God Lord of 10 Directions to a life-and-death battle in the chaos. How could the God Lord of 10 Directions not be surprised? It seems that you've obtained the inheritance of the Thunder Lake original realm, so you think you can challenge me. Ha! Although I haven't truly reached the peak of the Tao, I have the supreme strength to fight an immortal. How can an ant like you challenge me? The God Lord of 10 Directions chuckled, stepped into the void, and disappeared from the sky above the heaven pavilion. Domain outside the chaos. It was cold and silent. There was nothing. This figure floated in the chaos, his aura empty, as if he had become one with the chaos. His eyes were calm, like an ancient well without ripples. His entire body was like an airflow without any aura, quietly waiting in the chaos. In less than 10 days, front, the primal chaos in the area suddenly rolled to the sides like waves. An evil aura surged out from within, and then a figure calmly walked out. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. Tin God Master Fong's evil corpse had finally arrived. It stopped less than 100 zhang away from Su Fong. Tin Divine Lord Fong's divine light swept over. Su Fong, I didn't expect you to not hide in the Thunderlock original realm and to take the initiative to challenge me. This is truly out of my expectations. This evil will viciously and fiercely attack Su Fong. Su Fong's robe fluttered, but his body remained unmoving. The God Lord of 10 Directions tried to use his will to attack Su Fong's Tao heart, but Su Fong easily dispelled it. The corner of Su Fong's lips curled up. For the good corpse of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, for my master Shixian Daozu, and for the human race, how can my Tao heart be at peace if I don't kill you? Kill me? The evil corpse of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions laughed, his eyes full of disdain and contempt. You probably weren't even born when my might shook the human world. Everything you have comes from the Joshuan, limitless scripture that I passed down to the human world. You think you can kill me? What you say is the truth, but so what? I, Su Fong, might have been born in a low-level universe, but I've stepped on the corpses of countless experts and surpassed countless pinnacles. What's so impossible about surpassing you now? You could be considered my successor. Fine, I don't want to kill you with my own hands. As long as you submit to me and help me achieve eternal immortality, not only will I not kill you, I'll even think of ways to help you break through your limits and become the immortal expert you've always dreamed of. With you by my side, we'll definitely be able to dominate the myriad races of the primal chaos and achieve eternal glory. God Lord Fong actually changed his nature and began to patiently persuade me. Help me become immortal? Su Fong's eyes were filled with mockery. I don't need you to help me. I can still reach the peak and become an eternal immortal. You are the evil side of the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. Isn't it laughable to say that you can't bear to kill me? Isn't that ridiculous? You just want to use me to wipe out the human race so that you can prove your Tao. You're trying to trick me with such nonsense that would fool a 3-year-old? You're quite smart. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions smiled sheepishly. Since that's the case, I have no choice but to suppress you, then take over your body and consciousness. I'll enter the Luai's original realm and exterminate the human race. Su Fong sneered again. I hope your strength is as great as your boastful words. I also hope your strength won't disappoint me. While the Divine Lord of Ten Directions' voice was still echoing, an evil intent burst forth and enveloped Su Fong. First, an evil intent that wanted to bury all life madly battered Su Fong's Tao heart. Beneath Su Fong's surroundings were the images of endless tombs. These weren't real tombs, but illusions created through mental visualization. Although they weren't real. Once Su Fong's will was broken, he would suffer real injuries and be buried in the tombs. Su Fong stood tall and lofty as he looked disdainfully at the Divine Lord of Ten Directions' evil corpse. Your will is truly powerful, surpassing the limits of the Daozu. But how can it do anything to me? Su Fong's Tao heart had reached the level of supreme indifference. No external or internal will could shake his Tao heart in the slightest. The Divine Lord of Ten Directions will had reached the astonishing level of eternal, but it still couldn't shake Su Fong's Tao heart. So you've already severed the three corpses and reached the eternal level of the heavenly Tao's heartlessness. The Divine Lord of Ten Directions' bright eyes were filled with surprise. The 9 yang, 9 transformations that Su Fong cultivated in the Pongsong universe was the Joshuan Limitless Sutra of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions. It wasn't strange that the Divine Lord of Ten Directions could see Su Fong's Tao heart. Think. The thought of the past once more stirred up the hatred in the Divine Lord of Ten Directions' heart. Evil flames ignited in his eyes as he roared. If it weren't for the human race's Daozu pursuing this god, forcing this god to split into 3 and killing my execution corpse, this god would have severed the 3 corpses long ago and reached the apex. That's because you don't have my luck or courage, so you can't blame anyone else. Just like the Thunder Lake original realm. You had the Thunder Lake token long ago, but you never dared to step into the Thunder Lake original realm. In the end, you gave it to me. This is luck and the courage to face all dangers. How could I allow a junior like you to lecture this god? The Divine Lord of Ten Directions let out a thunderous roar as a red light surged out of his forehead. Shah! Over there! The evil red light spread out in every direction, dyeing the cold and silent primal chaos blood red and suffusing the air with a frightening aura of death and violence. Whoosh! Whoosh! One figure after another appeared. They were not illusions of wills, but real cultivators, and their faces were extremely familiar to Su Fong. These cultivators included the foreign Daozu experts that Zhou Nuo had recruited, as well as the human race's Daozu. There were 39 of them in total. These were the Daozu experts that the Divine Lord of Ten Directions had devoured and refined into puppets. Each puppet was equivalent to an avatar of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions, possessing strength at the limit of the Daozu's 9th level. Ten God Lord Fong domineeringly said, Su Fong, if you can defeat this god's tomb keepers, you will have the right to challenge this god. I'll make sure you get what you want. Su said. God Lord Fong gave an embarrassed smile as he released his heavenly Tao avatar, profound Yang avatar, profound Yellow avatar, heavenly Coffin avatar, and Origin Soul avatar. His 5 avatars blurred as they charged at the tomb keepers. The curtain was finally drawn on the incomparable battle between Su Fong and the Divine Lord of Ten Directions in the primal chaos. In the primal chaos, outside the void where Su Fong and the Divine Lord of Ten Directions were fighting, many eyes were using the power of the heavenly Tao to observe the battle. The Thunder Lake original realm spirit was worried about Su Fong's safety, so he was using the will of the Thunder Lake original realm to observe the battle. Su Fong is a little too confident. He could have waited patiently until he broke through the limit of the Daozu and reached the immortal realm. Then, he could have killed the Divine Lord of Ten Directions. But now, he's taking the initiative to challenge the Divine Lord of Ten Directions. That Divine Lord of Ten Directions has the strength of an immortal realm expert. Defeating him will be difficult. It had not been easy for him to find an inheritor who had the potential to become the master of the Thunder Lake original realm. If Su Fong died at the hands of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions, the realm spirit would have to wait a long time again. How could he not be concerned? It was not just the realm spirit. The strongest expert of the Ice Soul Sacred Clan, Forefather Ice Soul, also placed a strand of his consciousness in the heavenly Tao to observe the battle between Su Fong and the Divine Lord of Ten Directions. That Divine Lord of Ten Directions has not reached the immortal realm, but he has the strength of an immortal. It will be difficult for Su Fong to defeat him. I can't let my disciple lose his father. I have to save him at the critical moment. Forefather Ice Soul was not optimistic about Su Fong's chances and was prepared to save him at any time. Who knew? Forefather Ice Soul, if you dare to interfere in the battle between the two, you will become the enemy of the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan. Don't blame me for being impolite. Even if I can't seal you, your Ice Soul Sacred Clan will suffer as well. It turned out that the seventh forefather of the Tensei people had also projected his consciousness here. He noticed Forefather Ice Soul and immediately threatened him. No, the seventh forefather of the Tensei people and the forefather of the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan had also placed a strand of his consciousness in the heavenly Tao. Ice Forefather Ice Soul snorted. It seems that you are certain that Su Fong will lose? As long as no one interferes, Su Fong will definitely die, although the Divine Lord of Ten Directions has not reached the immortal realm. His strength is comparable to that of an immortal realm expert. How can Su Fong, a Daozu cultivator, defeat him? Forefather Ice Soul pondered for a moment and replied, "Fine. If I don't interfere, you can't interfere either. Otherwise, I will have to throw caution to the wind." Su Fong is the inheritor of the Luai's original realm and is protected by the eternal heavenly law. I dare not attack him. You can rest assured. The Qianyuan clan replied decisively. Su. Chapter 3283. The three immortal realm experts could see the difference between Su Fong and the Ten Directions' divine lords. If nothing unexpected happened, Su Fong was destined to lose. Boom, boom. Su Fong's 5 Dharma bodies were already fighting with nearly 40 Daozu peak experts. Strong, the collision of tyrannical power and supreme heavenly Tao created a large-scale destructive shockwave that caused the endless chaotic void to tremble violently. Whoosh! The coffin Dharma body's coffin lid slid open, releasing a monstrous deathly aura that was extremely similar to that of the Ten Directions' divine lords. However, it was far less majestic, and the heavenly Tao contained within was on a different level. Heaven. The coffin Dharma body's aura transformed into 9 blood coffins that enveloped the 9 tomb keepers. Although it couldn't suppress them, it entangled the 9 tomb keepers, making it difficult for them to escape in a short period of time. Yuan, the Dharma body, used its array formation ability to create layers of arrays in the chaos, trapping the 7 tomb keepers within. Boom, boom. Xian, the Yang Dharma body, released 9 divine suns, releasing supreme Yang power and supreme heavenly Tao that trapped more than 10 tomb keepers. Su, the heavenly Tao Dharma body, released its thoughts to form a yin-yang world that enveloped the 8 tomb keepers. The tomb keeper's strength was truly astonishing. Su Fong's 3 Dharma bodies could only trap them, and they couldn't hold them off for too long. The remaining 3 tomb keepers charged towards Su Fong's Xianhuang Dharma body, activating their deathly aura and vicious aura to engulf it. Heaven. I know. The Xianhuang Dharma body was Su Fong's true trump card. At this moment, there were 42 Daozu hidden within the Xianhuang Dharma body. In addition to the 7 Daozu from the 12 races that he had previously subdued, there were nearly 50 Daozu experts in total. Under Su Fong's will, all of their cultivation base seeped into the Xianhuang Dharma body. The Xianhuang Dharma body, in the form of a pagoda, suddenly erupted with the power of the 6 great Tao. Like a surging wave, it instantly engulfed the 3 tomb keepers and shattered them. After that, the pagoda suddenly charged into the formation created by the nascent soul avatar, and with the cooperation of the nascent soul avatar, it easily annihilated the 7 tomb keepers within the formation. Break them one by one. Su Fong displayed the loftiness of a peerless overlord. The Xianhuang Dharma body followed the same pattern and killed all the tomb keepers trapped by the Xianyang Dharma body and the Heavenly Way Dharma body. Just like that, Su Fong borrowed the strength of the many foreign experts under his command to kill all 39 of the God Lord of Ten Directions tomb keepers one by one. So there are so many Daozu powerhouses hidden within your Dharmakaya. Divine Lord Fong lost 39 puppets, but he didn't seem to feel any heartache. In fact, his eyes were filled with anger and heartache. These puppets were refined by him, using his own cultivation, and consumed a lot of his strength. How could he not feel heartache? You have subordinates, but do you think I don't? Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. Guan Realm Spirit, who was watching Su Fong, heaved a sigh of relief. I didn't expect Su Fong to have so many Daozu powerhouses under his command. It seems that his strength has increased greatly. No wonder he has the courage to challenge the God Lord of Ten Directions. Ancestor Soul transmitted his thoughts to the Tensei people's seventh forefather and the Qianyuan youth. Are the two of you disappointed by this result? Disappointed? The Tensei people's seventh forefather laughed coldly. The Daozu is the Daozu. No matter how many of them there are, they're all ants in the face of immortal power. The Qianyuan youth replied indifferently. Both sides have yet to show their true strength. It's too early to talk about the result. Then let's wait and see, the Ice Soul Elder said with an embarrassed smile. Although he seemed relaxed, he was still worried about Su Fong. Su Fong Ba said, God Lord of Ten Directions, show me your true strength. These tomb keepers of yours are no threat to me. Since you want to see my true strength, I'll do as you wish. Thoughts surged out of the God Lord of Ten Directions body like a tidal wave. They turned into an unparalleled divine might that enveloped the entire area. A domineering supreme principle and might of the God Lord of Ten Directions quickly created a space-time that enveloped Su Fong and his avatar. The heavens, earth, east, west, south, north, life gate, death position, past, future. Everything around Su Fong was sealed. My Lord of Ten Directions seal. The God Lord of Ten Directions had used the supreme divine ability he had created, My Lord of Ten Directions seal. The My Lord of Ten Directions seal that Su Fong had before came from the God Lord of Ten Directions good corpse, which came from the same source as the evil corpse. The My Lord of Ten Directions seal that the evil corpse of the God Lord of Ten Directions used now had different wills, supreme principles, and magic power. The space-time created by the My Lord of Ten Directions seal not only sealed the heavens, earth, east, west, south, north, life gate, death position, past, and future, but it also contained the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao that would bury everything in Su Fong in a grave and return to death. All life would return to death unless it surpassed the limits of life and reached a level where it could coexist with the heavenly Tao. Thus, the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao contained in the My Lord of Ten Directions seal could not be considered evil. My Lord of Ten Directions seal? Su Fong's eyes flickered with a strong fighting spirit. He had also once grasped the My Lord of Ten Directions seal. Although he had abandoned it now, he still knew how powerful this supreme divine ability was. Now that he could fight against the My Lord of Ten Directions seal that the God Lord of Ten Directions had personally used, Su Fong's fighting spirit was ignited. Fighting with a true expert, that was what a true cultivator was. Let's see if your My Lord of Ten Directions seal is more powerful, or if the great ruins of End technique that I created is more powerful. Su Fong's thoughts and primordial energy surged out of his body and quickly condensed into a primordial mirror. Then, a primordial beam of light that contained the supreme principles of destruction and the end of all things erupted into the sky. Chi. A hole was forcefully torn in the space-time created by the My Lord of Ten Directions seal, which then continued to expand into the surroundings. Everything was reduced to nothingness, and the cold and deathly still primordial void was revealed once more. The clash of the two supreme divine abilities ended with the great ruins of End Technique's complete victory. Of course, it was not that the God Lord of Ten Directions was weaker than Su Fong. Rather, Compared to Su Fang's great ruins of in technique, the My Lord of Ten Directions seal was clearly inferior. After all, the My Lord of Ten Directions seal was created when he was at the peak of the Tao Saint realm. Although it was extremely extraordinary, it was only at the level of Daozu at best. The supreme principles of the heavenly Tao it contained were clearly inferior to the great ruins of in technique. The supreme principles of the great Tao were the true essence of the heavenly Tao. The difference in principles made it difficult for the My Lord of Ten Directions seal to defeat Su Fang's great ruins of in technique. Su Fang hurriedly withdrew all of his avatars into his Tao palace. Realm Spirit exclaimed in shock, "Amazing! Such a divine ability is truly amazing. To be able to comprehend the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao's destruction and create such a peerless divine ability. Su Fang will definitely become a powerful immortal in the future." No wonder he dared to attack the Qianyuan clan's Lihua branch alone and was able to escape unscathed. It turns out that his strength is astonishing. When I was at the peak of Daozu, my strength was not even 1/10 of his. Patriarch Isol was now completely relieved. In my opinion, the God Lord of Ten Directions does not live up to his reputation. He was actually suppressed by Su Fang. The God Lord of Ten Directions has yet to use his final technique. Why do we have to diminish his prestige? The Tensei people's seventh forefather and the Qianyuan youth were also secretly conversing. Su Fang revealed a domineering aura as he shouted at the God Lord of Ten Directions. "God Lord of Ten Directions, your master's Ten Directions seal is only so. What other powerful techniques do you have?" "Su Fang, I have to admit that I have underestimated you. To think that you have cultivated the Jiuxuan's Wuji Sutra to such an astonishing level and created such a peerless divine ability that is even more powerful than my master's Ten Directions seal." The God Lord of Ten Directions finally looked at Su Fang with a serious expression. He no longer looked down on him. Su Fang snorted. "Why would I challenge you if I didn't have any powerful techniques?" God Lord of Ten Directions, Fang, shook his head and smiled. "If you think that this is all I have, you are truly laughable. Forget it. Let everything end. 9 suns burying the sky. 10 Directions, annihilation." God Lord of Ten Directions, Fang's voice was still echoing when he suddenly waved his arm. His thoughts, an aura soared into the sky from his body. Swoosh, swoosh. When there were a total of 9 million thoughts, and every one of them condensed into a blood sun that looked like it was condensed from black blood. Within the blood sun, one could faintly see 9 tombs. Su Fang was no stranger to such a divine ability. Back in the Pansong universe, Su Fang had seen the evil god's descent use this divine ability. However, compared to the divine ability used by the God Lord of Ten Directions, the 9 suns condensed by the evil god's descent were like fireflies. At this moment, the 9 blood suns were like blazing suns in the sky. There was simply no comparison between the two. It was not just the difference in strength. Ten God Lord of Ten Directions, Fang's divine ability contained the supreme truths of the heavenly Tao. It could seal all life and bury the heavenly Tao. It was as if the space-time created by the 9 blood suns was the final destination of the heavenly Tao's reincarnation. Such supreme truths of the heavenly Tao, coupled with the fact that the God Lord of Ten Directions, Fang's cultivation was above Su Fang's, made the power of this divine ability far surpass Su Fang's great returning ruins technique. Startled, the deathly aura of the human began to seep into Su Fang's body, causing Su Fang's physical body to begin to corrode. Even his primordial energy could not stop it. Instead, it was corrupted by the evil aura. Even more so, even Su Fang's Tao heart began to be corroded. His immortal Tao heart was about to be corroded and returned to the grave. This was the powerful strength that only immortal powerhouses could possess. Although Su Fang could display 99% of Daozu's peak strength, he was still powerless in front of a true immortal powerhouse. Su Fang is in danger. Ling and Forefather I's soul began to worry for Su Fang. The God Lord of Ten Directions is indeed extraordinary to have mastered such a supreme great Tao. If we can recruit this person to our clan, he will be a great help to our clan. Even if Su Fong is not killed, he will be severely injured. Let's see how he will resolve this. The seventh ancestor of a universe clan and the undying of the Qin Yuan clan relaxed. They were certain that everything was over and that Su Fong would undoubtedly be defeated. Defeat meant death. The heavenly Tao's reincarnation is endless. How can there be an end? Destruction to the extreme is not the end, but the creation. Great creation technique. Chapter 3284. Su Fong, the god art you just used is indeed extraordinary. It's even on the same level as my 9-sun sky burial. Unfortunately, the difference between our levels of cultivation is too great. No matter how extraordinary your god art is, you'll still be crushed by me. Give up your futile struggle. If you surrender now, my promise will still stand. When Divine Lord Fong saw Su Fong use the great ruins of end technique again, he snorted disdainfully. Surrender to you? If I want to hand my fate over to someone else, why don't I just surrender to the other races? Why would I surrender to a half-step undying like you? Your 9 suns, sky burial, may be extraordinary, but it's still not enough to suppress Su Fong. If that's all you've got, then you can die. Su Fong's voice was like thunder in spring. Mirror the aura of great destruction on his face had reached its peak, and then it suddenly exploded, turning into a beam of chaotic light that shot out. The supreme truth of great destruction to great creation was above the supreme truth of God Lord of 10 directions, shattering all the shackles. The 9 blood suns also began to shatter and eventually collapsed, revealing the 9 blood tombs inside. Rue just like the clouds parting to see the sun again. The surrounding chaos returned to normal. Rue, under the violent impact of the collision, the chaos void shook violently and became abnormally chaotic. Even Daozu great beings would be injured if they entered this area, and cultivators below the Daozu level would be killed by the chaotic airflow. Su Fong took out hundreds of pills and swallowed them. The heaven-piercing Blood King vine was also crazily devouring the essence of the other great beings' corpses. Even the heaven-swallowing insects were spitting out Hong Meng Qi to fill the void in the Tao Palace and heal the injuries on his body. God Lord of 10 directions' body swayed, and his pale face regained some color. His aura was much weaker than before. His god art had been destroyed, and he had suffered a great loss. Woo! Be it Realm Spirit or the 3 Immortal Realm experts, they were all surprised. Boundary extraordinary, truly extraordinary, Ling muttered to herself. It seems that the future master of the Leisha Original Realm will definitely be able to restore the glory of the Reizegu people. Ancestor Ice Soul laughed proudly. Are you satisfied with this result, undying great beings? Humph! The 7th forefather of the Tensei people snorted coldly. I'm indeed surprised that a low-level race like the human race could produce such a shocking figure. However, no matter how extraordinary he is, he's alone. Even if he doesn't die this time, he'll be killed sooner or later. The undying of the Heaven Yuan race's mind contained a sharp, killing intent. If you're not afraid of the eternal heavenly law, feel free to attack him. Patriarch Ice Soul snorted. It's not like the Qin Yuan clan doesn't have a way to circumvent the heavenly laws. At most, they would have to pay a price. The Su Fong is not a soft persimmon that you can bully. I'm just afraid that the Qin Yuan clan will end up like last time, going for wool and coming home shorn. Old Ancestor Soul and the Gan Yuan undying engaged in a war of words. Su Fong, you have truly shocked me. Even I found it hard to imagine that you could possess such astonishing strength. However, don't be so smug. That should be your most powerful trump card. I haven't used my most powerful move yet. The one who will have the last laugh will be me. Evil flames began to burn all over Godmaster of 10 Directions' body. The savage and evil aura caused the chaotic void to tremble and boil. 9 The bloody tomb began to surge with bloody light, which was then absorbed into his body. Boom! A black tombstone gradually rose from his body and became a towering tombstone that was tens of thousands of feet tall. The tombstone emitted an ancient and eternal aura. It was a primordial heavenly treasure. It was also not a primordial heavenly treasure. Instead, it was born and nurtured in the chaos and contained the supreme principles of the heavenly Tao. Not only that, the tombstone was clearly connected to God Master of Ten Directions, aura. He was the evil corpse of God Master of Ten Directions to begin with, so it was obvious that he was fusing with the tombstone and using it as a treasure for the evil corpse. No wonder God Master of Ten Directions has the strength of an undying even though he hasn't reached the undying realm. It's because he has such a powerful primordial heavenly treasure. That primordial heavenly treasure is called the Sky-Burying God Tablet. It's said that it has the power to bury the heavens. I didn't expect it to fall into God Master of Ten Directions' hands. This treasure is perfectly compatible with the principles of the heavenly Tao that God Master of Ten Directions has mastered. Su Fong may have the longevity lamp and the supreme battle flag of the Reizega people, but he's no match for God Master of Ten Directions. He's dead for sure. This battle is over. There's no need for me to worry about that human ant anymore. Boundary Spirit, Old Ancestor Ice Soul, the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people, and the Gan Yuan Undying couldn't help but exclaim when they saw God Master of Ten Directions use the primordial heavenly treasure. Boundary Spirit, and Old Ancestor Ice Soul were worried about Su Fong, while the other two sneered. Old Ancestor Ice Soul began to prepare a powerful attack. But who knew? Ice Soul Ancestor, don't bring trouble to yourself and the Ice Soul Holy Race. Ice Soul Ancestor sent a message over. Old Ancestor Ice Soul had to give up on the idea. Boom! The primordial heavenly steel erupted with supreme principles and divine power that could bury the heavenly Tao. It opened up a space in the chaos and enveloped Su Fong and his surroundings, trying to bury him alive. Su, the primordial heavenly chi in Fong Dao Palace, surged out and formed a defensive boundary to resist the steel's divine power. His heart was also filled with shock and horror. However, it wasn't strange. God Master of Ten Directions was the first human to possess the strength of an immortal. He was also someone with great luck. Su, if Fong Do could possess two primordial heavenly treasures, what was so strange about God Master of Ten Directions possessing one? Su Fong, this is my true strength. Even though you are extraordinary, even surpassing me in the past, and being able to fight me to such an extent has surprised and shocked me, you are still unable to defy the heavens. God Master of Ten Directions' voice rolled over. He was extremely smug, as if everything was under his control. The surrounding space kept releasing terrifying death energy and evil energy that contained the will of death, trying to drag Su Fong to his death. Many human faces appeared on the primordial heavenly steel, each of them filled with pain and hatred. They were so densely packed that it made one's hair stand on end. The mouths of the faces let out cries and howls, releasing waves of soul-sucking power that wanted to tear Su Fong's soul apart and devour it. Su Fong, the primordial heavenly steel, kept surging with blood-red light, condensing into the words Su Fong's grave and releasing a power that could devour fate. Once Fong's name appeared on the primordial heavenly steel, his fate would come to an end. Ten God Master Fong's primordial heavenly treasure lived up to its name of heaven burying. It possessed the power to attack one's life, soul, and even fate. Moreover, this primordial heavenly treasure, called the heaven-burying divine steel, released power that completely surpassed the limits of the Daozu. It was comparable to an immortal's attack. Although Su Fong had 99% of the Daozu's strength, this small difference meant that he could only be crushed without any ability to resist. His defenses shattered layer by layer like sand. His life and soul were being stripped away, and his immortal Tao heart was being eroded. Even his fate was beginning to come to an end. It's still not certain who will emerge victorious. Let's go all out. Although Su Fong was shocked, he had not yet fallen into despair. On the contrary, his eyes burned with a strong will to fight. Whoosh! Su Fong activated the Sovereign War Banner and flew out of the Dao Palace. Battle the banner flapped in the wind, erupting with a terrifying aura of war and slaughter. It clashed with the death energy and evil energy of the heaven-burying divine steel, causing space-time to collapse. The Sacred Heaven Avatar and Purple Fate Avatar also flashed out. Although the Purple Fate Avatar and the Sacred Heaven Stone could not strip away the heaven-burying divine steel's power, they were able to greatly suppress it, causing the heaven-burying divine steel's power to decrease by about 30%. Pa! 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 The longevity lamp's flames burned wildly, and the lamp emitted a series of soul attacks. As the lamp flames swept out, the faces on the heaven-burying divine steel screamed miserably, then burned and collapsed. Destiny Avatar, Sever Fate. Next, Su Fang's Destiny Avatar flashed out of the Tao Palace. The power of fate condensed into a saber and slashed in front of him. Chi! Entomb. The heaven-burying divine steel locked on his Su Fang was severed by the saber, allowing Su Fang to break free from fate's control. Su Fang activated his primordial heavenly treasure and avatar, finally neutralizing the Ten Directions Divine Lord's attack. No, passing Su Fang consumed a great deal of energy. Not only did it consume his will and thoughts, but it also consumed his lifespan and fate. His life force became weak, and his body was shrouded in a layer of bad luck. Su Fang's strength is indeed extraordinary. He has the strength to fight an undying. This kid is extraordinary, very extraordinary. He is indeed extraordinary, but he still can't fight against the Ten Directions Divine Lord. He won't be able to escape the fate of being killed. He's just overdrawing himself and using treasures to barely fight against the Ten Directions Divine Lord. It's like drinking poison to quench thirst. How long can he last? Ling, Ancestor Ice Soul, the Tensei people's seventh ancestor, and the Qianyuan race's undying were all shocked. However, no one thought that Su Fang could defeat the Ten Directions Divine Lord. It was only a matter of time before he was suppressed. No one had expected that Su Fang, who seemed to be resigned to his fate, would begin to prepare his most shocking attack. Chi! The heavenly devourer insects charged out of Su Fang's body and pounced on the heaven-burying divine steel above the Ten Directions Divine Lord's head. They landed on the steel and began to gnaw at it. Burial the heaven-burying divine steel was indeed astonishing. Even the heavenly devourer insects couldn't shake it in a short period of time. However, they still managed to divert a lot of the Ten Directions Divine Lord's attention, and the heaven-burying divine steel's attack weakened significantly. Su Fang took this opportunity to activate the heaven-piercing Blood King vines with all his might. First, the blood vines pierced into the bodies of the Daozu, tall foreign race powerhouses, and their life essence gushed into Su Fang's body like a fountain. However, then, through the heaven-piercing Blood King vine's blood threads, they seeped into every corner of Su Fang's body, causing the flames of life in Su Fang's body to burn and surge with heaven-defying momentum. Chapter 3285. Swish, swish, swish. A mysterious energy surged out of Su Fang's body, containing a supreme principle that could reverse heaven and earth and control fate. Black and white vortexes of yin and yang appeared in Su Fang's eyes, spinning clockwise, shooting out black and white Xianguang that enveloped the God Lord of Ten Directions and transformed into a mysterious vortex of yin and yang. Heaven's will mediation art. In this moment of crisis, Su Fang used his final and most powerful technique, the Heavens will mediation art. Swish! Although the Heavens will mediation art was a divine ability that Su Fang had created in the Pangang universe. As Su Fang's cultivation increased, so did its power. Su Fang's cultivation had already reached the limits of Daozu, and he was only a hair's breadth away from reaching the immortal realm. The Heavens will mediation art's power had also increased, even surpassing the limits of Daozu and reaching a level that could threaten immortals. However, any powerful divine ability had its corresponding limitations, and the Heavens will mediation art was no exception. Su Fong was using the Heaven's Will mediation art against an immortal realm expert to control the future of the God Lord of Ten Directions and change the past. Naturally, he had to pay a terrible price and consume an astonishing amount of energy. His hair changed from jet black to gray and then to snow white at an alarming rate. His skin quickly turned from a baby's tender to old and withered, and his life force was rapidly draining away. Swish! Su Fong pushed the celestial Blood King vine to its limits, instantly turning the corpses of the non-human experts into ash. Pound! His boundless vitality still couldn't stop the loss of life energy, and his recovery speed couldn't make up for it. However, for now, he wouldn't die from the loss of life energy. God Lord of Ten Directions, you are the final obstacle to my path to the peak. Even if I have to exhaust my lifespan and fortune, I will surpass you this time. Su Fong looked at the God Lord of Ten Directions, his eyes filled with a heaven-defying determination and domineering aura. This moment, for the sake of the human race's future, the good corpse of the God Lord of Ten Directions burned itself to open the Thunder Marsh origin realm. Daozu had turned himself into a seal to shackle the evil corpse of the God Lord of Ten Directions. Also, the scenes of countless human beings being killed by the non-human kind emerged in his mind one after another. Namely, even if it was not for himself, for the Divine Master of Ten Directions and the good corpse, for Xian Daozu, and for the humans who had died at the hands of the foreign races, Su Fong would do anything to kill the Divine Master of Ten Directions. As the yin-yang vortex spun, the space-time around the Divine Lord of Ten Directions began to undergo an astonishing reversal. In under this supreme power that could twist the heavens and earth, the Divine Lord of Ten Directions figure swiftly blurred as one image after another shot out of the black and white vortex. That it was a scene several hours into the future. Such as if nothing unexpected happened. According to the trajectory of fate and heavenly secrets, the future would be as real as shown by the projection. At this moment, the light and shadow being reflected from the yin-yang vortex was the result of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions' heavenly fate manipulation technique. It wasn't just the outside world. Even the God Lord of Ten Directions himself and his mind were constantly changing along the trajectory of destiny and heavenly secrets. In his mind, Su Fong was finally unable to resist the power of the heaven-burying divine monument and was shackled by him. Then, his consciousness was taken over by him. What kind of remarkable ability is this? How could it possess such astonishing power that it can reverse the heavenly Tao? How could a Daozu master such a remarkable ability that can threaten an undying being? Realm Spirit, Forefather Ice Soul, the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people, and the undying of the heaven-burying divine monument were all shocked and surprised. None of them expected Su Fong to possess such a heaven-defying, remarkable ability. This boy must be killed as soon as possible. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people and the undying of the heaven-burying divine monument both felt threatened by Su Fong, and their eyes flashed with murderous intent. About 3 breaths later, Su Fong suddenly waved his hand toward the black and white vortex around the Divine Lord of Ten Directions. A projection rapidly appeared and then turned from nothingness to reality. The Divine Lord of Ten Directions' figure quickly solidified. At this moment, he was immersed in the immense pleasure of shackling Su Fong, and he laughed heartily. Unknown 10. Divine Lord of Ten Directions quickly sensed the abnormality, and his laughter stopped abruptly. Then he looked at Su Fong in shock. At this moment, Su Fong swallowed the last 9 flower jade pill given to him by the Divine Mother of the Precious Tree. This pill was a supreme treasure of the heavenly tree race. As long as a cultivator's soul was not destroyed, even if there was only a drop of blood or a strand of hair left, it could restore a cultivator's life force. The Divine Mother of the Precious Tree had given Su Fong a total of 39 flower jade pills, and now there was only 1 left. At such a critical moment, Su Fong no longer cared about anything else. Borrow. With the astonishing recovery ability of the pill, Su Fong's nearly depleted life force suddenly surged. Then, Su Fong used the Great Creation technique with all his might. A beam of chaotic light suddenly exploded and hit the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. I actually lost to Su Fong. I can't accept this. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions had just solidified and could not use any remarkable ability. He could only endure Su Fong's most powerful attack. At this moment, his heart was filled with unwillingness. Back when he was reigning supreme in the human world, Su Fong had not even been born yet. The 9 transformations that Su Fong cultivated came from the Jiuquan limitless scripture that the Divine Lord of 10 Directions' evil corpse had deliberately spread to the human world. Now, how could the Divine Lord of 10 Directions be willing to accept defeat at the hands of Su Fong? The Divine Lord of 10 Directions' immortal level strength came from the primordial heaven treasure, the heaven-burying God Steel. However, he himself had not reached the immortal level. After taking the full blow of the Great Creation technique, his body's defenses shattered like a city made of sand, about to be destroyed along with the surrounding space-time. Suddenly, a giant hand covered in divine runes appeared abruptly and grabbed at the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. Big. The terrifying power of the Great Creation technique suddenly shattered, and the Divine Lord of 10 Directions was grabbed by that giant hand, escaping the attack range of the Great Creation technique. Puff! Su Fong staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood filled with the aura of death. While his face, hair, and aura had turned into that of an old man in his 70s. He had one foot in the grave and could die at any moment. It's you. Su Fong barely steadied himself and looked at the void, gnashing his teeth. Out the one who had saved the Divine Lord of 10 Directions was the Qin Yuan, undying. Ancestor Li Hua, how dare you go back on your word? Ancestor Po roared angrily, and his consciousness transformed into a figure that appeared in the chaos. Then there was a rumble of thunder, and lightning surged out of the chaos and quickly formed a heavenly gate. The Luai's original world spirit's thunderous roar came from within. Qin Yuan undying, why are you interfering with the life and death battle of the Luai's original world's descendants? Aren't you afraid of being punished by the eternal laws? The Qin Yuan undying's consciousness transformed into a young man who walked out of the void and sneered. I didn't attack Su Fong, so I didn't break my promise. The eternal laws can't do anything to me. How can an undying be so shameless? Su Fong roared, gnashing his teeth. I've finally seen it for myself today. He was about to kill the Divine Lord of 10 Directions, but the Qin Yuan undying interfered. Although Su Fong's anger could burn the sky, he couldn't do anything to the Qin Yuan undying. Strength was always the most important thing. Shameless? The Qin Yuan undying sneered. So he displayed the aggressiveness of an undying. What do you mean by shamelessness? It's just a rule that shackles the weak. I exist with the heavenly Tao. Isn't it laughable that you're using shamelessness to restrain me? Seems like your Tao heart isn't strong enough to become undying. Rotten great beings had reached a level where they existed with the heavenly Tao and were as ruthless as the heavenly Tao. To ordinary people, this was a despicable and shameless method, but to undying great beings, it didn't matter. Su Fong let out a clanging sound. It seems like the Heaven Origin clan is bent on killing me. Since I was able to defeat the 10 Directions Divine Master once, there will also be a second time. It doesn't matter if I am saved by you. I don't believe that the Qin Yuan clan can protect the Divine Lord of 10 Directions forever. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions smiled evilly. It's my fortune to be saved by a great being. Why don't we fight again? Su Fong sneered. You only survive because of the help of an undying great being. What right do you have to fight me? Su Fong wasn't an idiot. He was on the verge of dying, so why would he fight the Divine Lord of 10 Directions again? He would have another chance to fight in the future, and then he would kill the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions snorted. Since he couldn't suppress Su Fong or kill the entire human race, The divine lord of 10 directions had no hope of becoming undying. Even if he was lucky enough to survive, he couldn't be happy about it. Su Fong, will remember this. Su Fong glanced at the undying of the Qianyuan clan and the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people coldly, and was about to enter the Luai's original sector. Who? Ran. You killed the peerless genius of the Tensei people and countless great beings in our clan. How can I let you live? The 7th ancestor of the Tensei people suddenly said in a voice filled with killing intent. A godly power that could stop time instantly enveloped Su Fong. Who? The power of time suddenly accelerated on Su Fong's body. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Su Fong felt as though he had experienced several epochs. Undying of the Tensei people, stop. Spirit and ancestor ice soul roared at the same time. A powerful Luai's original sector will erupted from the gate of heaven and surged toward the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people. Ancestor Ice Soul also released his thoughts and attacked the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people. The 7th ancestor of the Tensei people laughed loudly. The figure formed by his thoughts quickly turned into nothingness and disappeared from the chaos, then reappeared beside the undying of the Qianyuan clan. Su Fong was already in a state where his lifespan was greatly depleted. After being attacked by the 7th ancestor of the Tensei people, he looked a few years older. He was like a lamp that was about to run out of oil and die at any time. Hurriedly, he urged the heaven-piercing Blood King vine to frantically devour it. Only then did he recover slightly. Boundary Spirit roared. Tensei people, aren't you afraid of being punished by the eternal heaven? The 7th ancestor of the universe clan snorted. Heaven is dead, but humans are alive. I didn't kill Su Fong. I just punished him. Why would the eternal heaven punish me? Chapter 3286. Going back on his words. Tyrannical. Tyrannical. This was the power of an undying fighter. Su Fong, do you think the Tensei people and my race won't dare to attack you under the protection of the eternal sky law? What a joke. The eternal heavenly laws are your life-saving straw. I will take away this life-saving straw of yours. Let's see what else you can rely on. The Qianyuan race, the Tensei people, and the undying fighters of the 12 races will take away all the rights of the Reizeiga people in the eternal shrine. Let's see how arrogant you can be. The undying fighter of the Qianyuan race snorted coldly and showed his power. How dare you, undying fighter of the Qianyuan race? The Leisha original world shouted. The Zegu race used to be an overlord power. Although it had been destroyed, the Reizeiga people still had a certain status and rights in the eternal shrine according to the eternal sky law. The Zegu race had one chance to send their heirs to the eternal shrine for the test. If they passed the test, the Reizeiga people would be able to keep their status in the eternal shrine and enjoy the corresponding status and rights. Qian, the undying fighter of the Yuan race, planned to take away the rights of the Reizeiga people in the eternal shrine with the other undying fighters. This meant that the Reizeiga people would be completely excluded from the eternal shrine. Su Fong, the heir of the Leisha original world, would not be protected by the eternal sky law. By then, the undying fighters could attack him without fear. Even if Su Fong became an undying fighter, he would not be able to escape the fate of being suppressed and sealed. Qian, the undying fighter of the Yuan race, smiled domineeringly. Why wouldn't I dare? Not only do I dare, but I also have the ability to do it. By then, the Tensei people, the 12 races, and the undying fighters of the other races will be able to remove the Reizeiga people from the eternal shrine. It won't be difficult. The 7th ancestor of the Tensei people said majestically, I believe many undying fighters will respect the 2 high races. The Reizeiga people are already history. Who will stand up for the Reizeiga people? Humph. Let's wait and see. Ling snorted and did not say anything else. The Gan Yuan, undying, looked at Su Fong with disdain and said, After we strip the Leisha original domain of all its rights in the eternal shrine, I will join forces with the other undyings to seal the Leisha original domain. When that happens, you and the human race will be sealed within the Leisure original domain forever, isolated from the outside world, and left to fend for yourselves. Boom! Su Fong's body trembled, and his mind was buzzing. He gritted his teeth and glared at the seventh ancestor of the Tensei people and the undying of the Qianyuan clan. Such Asif it was as the Gan Yuan Undying had said. The human race would be forever isolated from the rest of the universe. They would be no different from the low-level races in the low-level universe. Unexpectedly, he had never imagined that the Qianyuan clan would be so overbearing and ruthless. This is the primal chaos upper race. This is the immortal realm. Su Fong was furious, but at the same time, he felt powerless. The Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people were both primal chaos upper races with several immortal realm warriors. They had both power and influence. No matter how heaven-defying Su Fong was, it would be difficult for him to resist the two primal chaos upper races. Su Fong, this is what you get for offending the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan. I won't kill you, but I'll make you and your race suffer a fate worse than death. The seventh ancestor of the Tensei people glanced at Su Fong coldly. After a domineering smile, the figure formed by his thoughts dissipated and disappeared without a trace. Ants should have the awareness of ants. Trying to defy the heavens is the path to death. Gan Yuan Undying said. The Undying of the Qianyuan clan smiled embarrassedly and used a Xianguang to wrap Ten Directions Godmaster and the sky-burying God Tablet. They disappeared into the void. Tensei people. Qianyuan clan. Hatred. Conflict. None. Not. However, Su Fong's Dao heart was calm. With his state of mind, he wouldn't lose his composure in the face of any difficulties or desperate situations. Soul ancestor side. Su Fong, the Qianyuan clan, and the Tensei people are powerful enough to cover the sky. I can't help you much. Sigh. Su Fong smiled wryly. Senior, there's no need to say more. Soul Holy Clan shouldn't interfere in this matter. Otherwise, even the Soul Holy Clan will be implicated. I said, go and recover from your injuries first. I'll take care of Xuanxin and your son Su Xinyan. As for the Eternal Shrine, I'll inform you as soon as I have any news. Thank you, Senior. Su Fong nodded and put his treasures and body into his Dao Palace. Standing, a bolt of lightning descended from the Luai's original realm and enveloped Su Fong. Then, it sucked him into the Luai's original realm through the gate of heaven. Realmling sent Su Fong into the space inside the divine origin pool. He had used up a lot of his lifespan and fate this time. Although Su Fong had the means to restore his lifespan and fate, he had used up too much of his energy. His recovery speed was also very slow. Fortunately, the time inside the divine origin pool was 1,000,000 times faster than the time outside. In addition, Su Fong didn't lack any resources or spiritual items. Great! Su Fong's almost depleted life force finally showed signs of recovery after devouring the essences of the foreign experts' corpses and precious pills to restore his lifespan. This meant that he was gradually escaping death. This time, not only had he used up his lifespan, but he had also lost a lot of fate. His purple fate avatar's aura had also withered. Lord Realm Spirit. Su Fong transmitted his thoughts to Realm Spirit. Realm Spirit's figure slowly materialized in front of him. He looked at Su Fong, shook his head, and sighed. Prince Su Fong, you want to ask me about the Eternal Shrine, right? Yes. The Reizeigu people have been dead for many years. They don't have much influence among the immortal experts in the Eternal Shrine. If the Qianyuan clan, the Tensei people, and the immortal experts of the 12 clans unite and propose to take away everything the Reizeigu people have in the Eternal Shrine, no one could stop them. Seems like we can only sit and wait. Fong was unwilling to accept this. The catastrophe of the human race had just been resolved, but now they had attracted even more powerful enemies and faced a new catastrophe. Therefore, the human race lived in the Luai's original realm. Even if they were isolated from the world and could no longer enter the Chaos 10,000 clans, it didn't mean that they were dead. However, Su Fang's ambition wasn't to let the human race live in misery. He wanted to lead the human race and stand proudly among the chaos 10,000 clans. If the immortal experts joined forces to seal the Luai's original realm, the human race would be isolated forever. How could Su Fang be willing to accept this? Realm Spirit suddenly said, "Actually, there's a way." Fang's eyes suddenly became spirited. "What way?" "Prince Su Fang, have you forgotten the seventh test in the Luai's original realm?" "You mean the eternal heavenly road?" "Yes." Realm Spirit nodded. "As long as you pass the eternal heavenly road, even if you don't become an immortal expert, you'll be listed in the eternal shrine and have some say in the eternal shrine. By then, the immortal experts of the Tensei people and the Qianyuan clan won't dare to attack you. You've underestimated the ruthlessness of those immortal experts. Just having some say in the eternal shrine is far from enough." Ling chuckled sheepishly before continuing with her story. "Prince Su Fang, you still don't understand the power of the eternal heavenly road. Many immortal experts joined forces to create the eternal heavenly road, but no one has been able to pass the test. If you complete the eternal heavenly road, you'll definitely shake up the eternal shrine and become a powerful immortal expert in the future. By then, even if those immortal experts don't try to win you over, they won't easily offend you either. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan clan, and the other 12 clans won't be able to deal with you so easily. In addition, if you complete the eternal heavenly path and complete the trial of the 7th heavenly path, the trial of the 8th heavenly path will be next. Then, you'll have the opportunity to use the inheritance of the Luai's ancient clan and obtain great help from them." Su Fang's eyebrows furrowed. "Help," Realm Spirit said proudly. "The Reizegu people used to be the overlords of a region. How strong are their foundations?" The immortal experts of the Reizegu people wanted to continue their inheritance. Before they were destroyed by the heavens, how could they not leave some powerful trump cards for their successors? Fang became spirited. "What kind of trump card is it?" "You'd better focus on preparing for the test of the eternal heavenly road. As for what kind of trump cards they have, you'll naturally know when the time comes. If you can't pass the 7th test, it's meaningless to know more now." Eternal heavenly road. This time I'll use the eternal heavenly road to prove my great Tao and enter the eternal shrine. My name will shake all the clans, and I'll show my peerless power among the clans of the chaos. The Tensei people, the Qianyuan clan, and the other 12 clans. No one could suppress me, Su Fang. Although Fang's spirit was weak at this moment, the domineering aura of a peerless expert rose spontaneously. The immortal experts of the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people disregarded their status and tried to kill me again and again. This time, they even saved the 10 Directions Godmaster and tried to deprive the Reizegu people of their right to enter the eternal shrine and seal the original territory of the Thunder Lake. They made things difficult for me, so I won't let the Qianyuan clan and the Tensei people have it easy. Following that, Su Fang's heart surged with a fierce aura. He immediately asked Realm Spirit for help to send his purple fate body, heavenly devouring insects, and weaver spider to the periphery of the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan through the original territory of the Thunder Lake. Origin, he came here to take revenge on the Qianyuan clan and use this opportunity to restore his luck. The purple fate body arrived at a space-time. This was where countless cultivators of different clans lived. It was a part of the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan. The purple fate body brought the weaver spider and heavenly devouring insects into the space-time. The purple fate body and heavenly devouring insects directly infiltrated the mystic world and went deep into the heavenly fate cave where the luck of the mystic world was concentrated. The heavenly devouring insects drilled into the place where the origin essence of the mystic world was sealed. They bit the seal and wantonly devoured the origin essence of the mystic world. Such as in this way, not only did the luck of the mystic world start to flow away, but the origin essence of the mystic world was also flowing away. Losing their fortune and essence meant that these sealed worlds would quickly turn into wastelands. Because in order to not alarm the upper echelons of the Qianyuan clan, the purple fate body, weaver spider, and heavenly devouring insects did not completely devour the luck and origin essence of the mystic world. Wait when the upper echelons of the Qianyuan clan discovered the abnormality and investigated, except for the Qianyuan peak, the luck and origin essence of the other mystic worlds in the Lihua branch of the Qianyuan clan were almost completely devoured. The Qianyuan clan. The upper echelons of the Yuan clan were furious. Chapter 3287. The upper echelons of the Heaven Origin clan were shocked. The upper echelons of the Tensei people were shocked. Heaven in a god territory of a branch of the Universe clan. In a mystic world, the clone of the seventh forefather of the Tensei people appeared in mid-air. When he sensed it, he discovered that the mystic world had lost 70% of its providence and origin. This was fatal for the mystic world. Losing so much providence and origin meant that the mystic world would gradually decline and eventually become a wasteland. It wasn't just this mystic world. More than 170 mystic worlds occupied by the branches and vassal forces of the Tensei people were the same. The Tensei people investigated but couldn't find any clues, so they had to ask the immortal masters to come out personally. The eyes of the seventh forefather of the Tensei people surged with the aura of time and Tao runes. No, in less than 10 breaths. The seventh forefather of the Tensei people's eyes became extremely fierce, and he said in a cold voice, "Su Feng, you're courting death." With his immortal strength and mastery of the Tao of time, it wasn't difficult for him to deduce that it was Su Feng who did it. He never expected that. Su Feng, who was seriously injured, would take revenge so quickly and so ruthlessly. So, a divine light flashed and quickly condensed into the figure of the Heaven Origin clan's immortal master. He communicated with the Tensei people's immortal master. "How dare you be so arrogant when you're about to die?" The Heaven Origin clan's immortal master gritted his teeth and shouted with murderous intent. Just like the Tensei people, the Heaven Origin clan's providence and origin of hundreds of mystic worlds had been devoured by Su Feng. How could he not be angry? What made the two immortal masters especially angry was that in their eyes, Su Feng was a pig waiting to be slaughtered. No one thought that Su Feng would take revenge for the smallest grievance and even dare to retaliate against the two chaotic upper clans. He was domineering and overbearing. They killed whoever they wanted. They killed any weak clan they wanted. In their eyes, it was a matter of course. Now that Su Feng was seeking revenge, the two high races had suffered great losses. They deserved to die. So how could they not be angry? Tian, the seventh ancestor of the Ian clan, gloomily said, "It's just his last act of madness. Let's see how arrogant he can be after we strip away everything the Reizegu people have in the Eternal Shrine." Luai's original realm. God the Genesis Reservoir. Huff, purple then, he summoned his avatar and flew out. Next, the sun spider and the heaven-devouring insect flew out of the violet fate Dharma body. Feeling Su Feng's face lit up when he sensed the auras of the spider and heavenly devouring insect. Purple the luck Dharma body was no longer illusory. It was like a real body. Purple clouds floated above his head, and the lifelike violet luck heavenly dragon flickered in and out of the purple clouds. The aura of the purple fate spiritual body was filled with shocking heavenly Tao fate, as if it was the embodiment of heavenly Tao fate. The spider had also undergone a great change. It turned into a spider with a body as white as jade. It was thousands of feet long and looked holy. However, its aura was filled with a terrifying aura of misfortune and misfortune. The spider was the embodiment of heavenly Tao calamity. It was even more terrifying than the spider on the heavenly fate platform. Heaven the devouring insect had also undergone a great change. After devouring the essence of more than 300 mystic worlds, it had grown to 3,000 feet long. Its aura was illusory, and its eyes were filled with endless savagery. The Tensei people and the Qian Yuan clan should be feeling the pinch now, right? This is just a temporary interest, Su Fong said. Fong Zhengrong smiled and absorbed the purple fate Dharma body, the spider, and the heaven-devouring insect into the Tao Palace. As soon as the purple fate Dharma body merged with Su Fong's true body, all the bad luck and bad luck that had enveloped Su Fong's body vanished. His entire being seemed to have become the heavenly Tao's favorite, filled with unparalleled fortune. Next, Su Fong continued to settle down and cultivate. He had completely escaped the danger of his lifespan running out. While recovering, he continued to cultivate the Jiuxuan Everlasting Sutra. He wanted to reach the 8th level of the Jiuxuan Everlasting Sutra as soon as possible so that he could prepare to break through to the next level. Same as at the same time, he continued to study the Great Returning to Ruins technique, Great Creation technique, Mediating Destiny technique, and other divine abilities. According to Realm Spirit, with Su Fong's strength, he had at least a 70% chance of passing the Eternal Heavens Road. Now that Su Fong's strength had improved, he had at least an 80% chance of passing the Eternal Heavens Road. However, Su Fong did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. Nothing was certain. Variables could appear at any time. But passing the Eternal Heavens Road was of great importance. It concerned the future of Su Fong and the entire human race. Hence, he had to make preparations with all his might. Su Fong continued to cultivate the Jiuxuan Everlasting Sutra, comprehending the mysterious and profound Heavenly Bestowal Sutra. He forgot about the passage of time in the divine origin pool. After an unknown amount of time, Su Fong's body suddenly shook. An invisible force surged out from his body, transforming into a distorted aura that shot into the sky from Su Fong's body. Shun the Genesis Pool space-time barrier could not stop it. The distorted aura rushed into the void and disappeared without a trace. However, the sky above Su Fong seemed to be torn apart by a sharp sword as a vortex appeared. An ethereal aura that contained a supreme will emerge from the vortex. It seemed to originate from the heavenly Tao and was very similar to the Tao source aura that appeared when Su Fong advanced to the Daozu realm. Jieling's figure appeared, her eyes filled with shock as she looked towards the vortex. What cultivation art is Prince Su Fong cultivating? How can it resonate with the heavenly Tao? Thunderclaps rang out from the vortex. It was as if there was a huge bell ringing. It was not a tribulation thunder, but a congratulatory message to Su Fong. As rainbow clouds surged out, an auspicious aura descended, enveloping Su Fong and rapidly seeping into Su Fong's body. After half an incense stick's worth of time, the thunder and auspicious clouds gradually dissipated. The vortex also disappeared, as if nothing had happened. However, Su Fong's aura changed greatly, gaining a hint of holiness and eternity. This was an aura that only immortal experts could possess. He suddenly opened his eyes, which flickered with a hale and hearty light. He had finally cultivated the limitless profound sutra to the 8th level. This also meant that Su Fong had grasped the true essence of the heavenly Tao and attained the immortal stage of cultivation. Su Fong had only managed to cultivate the Jiuxuan Limitless Sutra to the 8th level after many years of accumulation, as well as his secluded cultivation this time. Realm the World Beyond Worlds breakthrough had resonated with the heavenly Tao, as if congratulating Su Fong on his advancement. I possess the Tao Immortal Tao Heart, and have cultivated the Jiuxuan Limitless Sutra to the 8th level. Next, I only need to combine the 3 corpses and merge my avatar and main body into one, becoming one with the heavenly Tao. Then, I will be able to step onto the peak of the great Tao, becoming an immortal expert that coexists with the heavenly Tao. The World Beyond Worlds breakthrough had filled Su Fong's heart with great joy, and he couldn't help but let out a long roar. Realm Spirit cupped his fists towards Su Fong and said, "Congratulations, Your Highness Su Fong, for your advancement. You are now half-step immortal expert, and it's only a matter of time before you become an immortal expert." Realm Spirit was also very happy, and his attitude towards Su Fong also became much more polite. How can it be so easy to become an immortal? I still need a long time to settle down. It's too late. The most important thing now is to go through the eternal heavenly road. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly, and his mood returned to normal. He counted with his fingers and found that he had actually spent 120 million years in the divine origin pool. Traveling without the passage of time was even more so for a peerless expert like Su Fong, who was infinitely close to the peak. Only 120 years have passed outside. Let's go and see Xuanxin, Fairy, and my son first, and then we'll go through the eternal heavenly road. Su Fong stood up and let Realm Spirit use the godly power of the Thunder Domain to send him to the Ice Soul Holy Clan. He was still worried about Xuanxin, Fairy Luo, and his son Su Xianyan. At the same time, he had offended the Tensei people and the Qian Yuan race. The other 12 races would definitely not let him off easily. Fairy Luo was in the Heavenly Tree race, and Xuanxin and his son Su Xianyan were in the Ice Soul Holy Clan. Su Fong was worried that the Tensei people and the Qian Yuan race would attack them. With the ruthless methods of the 7th Elder of the Tensei people and the immortal experts of the Qian Yuan race, it was not impossible for them to do such a thing. Rumble. Ice. Thunder rumbled in the sky above the Soul Holy region. Then, lightning flashed, and a gate of heaven quickly formed. Su Fong flew out of the gate of heaven and projected his sensing energy. He sensed Xuanxin's energy, still sensing an aura that was connected to his flesh and blood and fate. Su Fong became excited. Needless to say, the energy connected to his flesh and fate came from his son, Su Xianyan. Just as he was about to teleport over, the strongest of the Ice Soul Holy Clan, Ancestor Ice Soul's divine mind flashed and turned into an old man in white. He nodded and smiled at Su Fong. Su Fong, you recovered so quickly? Then, sensing Su Fong's energy, Ancestor Ice Soul's divine mind changed slightly. With his immortal level power, he could naturally sense that Su Fong had 1 foot in the immortal level, which was the so-called half-step immortal level. However, moreover, Su Fong's aura made even Ancestor Ice Soul, an immortal realm expert, feel wary. Such as how could Ancestor Ice Soul not be shocked by such a shocking speed of improvement? Senior, is there any news from the Eternal Temple? Su Fong asked impatiently. This was what he cared about the most. I was just about to contact you. I didn't expect you to come to the Ice Soul Holy region in person. Go and see your son first, and then I'll talk to you in detail. Ancestor Ice Soul smiled embarrassedly. Then, his divine mind turned into a beam of divine light and disappeared. The Qian Yuan clan and the Tensei people have obviously taken action. Su Fong saw some clues from Ancestor Ice Soul's expression. No, there was nothing to worry about. How bad could things get? Swoosh, 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 swoosh. 3 cultivators of the Ice Soul Holy Clan flew through the air. They were the 3 Daozu experts of the Ice Soul Holy Clan. Su Fong. The 3 Daozu experts of the Ice Soul Holy Clan looked very respectful, polite, and even awed. No, Guo Su Fong also sensed that, under the awe, there was a feeling of keeping a respectful distance from him. Su Fong frowned and didn't ask anything. He directly teleported to his son, Su Xianyan. Snow Ancestor exclaimed. Su Fong's energy now makes even me feel awe. How did he cultivate? How did he improve so quickly? Padaozu also clicked his tongue and sighed. The human race is such a low-level race, but there's actually such a peerless human. He's really extraordinary. Sooner or later, he'll become an immortal. Sheng Ling Daozu snorted. However, he doesn't know how to endure. He offended so many experts and forces. Even if he becomes an immortal, he won't have a good ending. Senior brother Sheng Ling, be careful. Su Fong's rights and wrongs are not something you and I can casually discuss. Saint Soul Daozu raised his sword-like eyebrows. Ling,